Ladies and gentlemen, councillors, I'll welcome everyone to our meeting tonight. In the event of an emergency, the building may be evacuated. You'll be required to vacate the building by the rear entrance and gather at the breezeway between the library and the art gallery buildings. This is Council's designated emergency muster point. Under no circumstances is anyone permitted to re-enter the building until all clear has been given in the area deemed safe by authorised personnel. In the event of an evacuation, a member of council staff will assist any persons present with a disability to vacate the building. Any apologies, Mr. CEO?
There are no apologies, sir.
This council meeting is being live streamed and recorded. By speaking at this council meeting, you agree to be live streamed and recorded. Please ensure that if and when you speak at this council meeting, that you ensure you are respectful to others and use appropriate language at all times. Orange City Council accepts no liability for any defamatory or offensive remarks or gestures made during this course of this meeting. A recording of this council meeting will be made for administrative purposes. Councillors, can I have a mover and a second that we allow TV cameras in?
I'll move that way, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Whitten. Councillor Duffy, seconded. All those in favour? Against? Carried. I would like to acknowledge the Wiradjuri people who are the traditional custodians of the land. I would also like to pay respect to the elders, both past, present, of the Wiradjuri nation, and extend that respect to other Aboriginal Australians who are present. Councillors, are there any declarations of interest? Councillor Kinghorn.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just my usual Planning and Development Committee meeting items 2.2, 2.3, 2.4 and 2.5. As my husband's environmental consulting work has done work on these sites or for the applicant.
Councillor Floyd.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have a non-pecuniary, non-significant interest in item 2.2 of the general reports in the Finance Policy Committee meeting agenda. Recommendation 7 on page 142, the Mr. Perfect Barbecues donation, as I am a co-host of this event, and I will leave the room and not be voting.
Councillor Duffy.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have to declare in Finance Committee in the small donations section, I've let a group raising funds for the Royal Flying Doctor Service have my shed for free, so I'll declare the interest in that. I've got nothing to do with the fundraising itself, but my wife has that.
Councillor Peterson.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm on the Clinical Governance Committee of Wangarang as a volunteer. Because of that, I will exclude myself for discussions and voting on finance. Recommendation 3, item 2.1.
Any others? Thank you, councillors. I will now call for the open forum. The council meeting, tonight we have 26 registered speakers. I have decided to reduce the speaking time from 5 minutes to 4. This means the open forum will go for an hour and a half. Before the speakers get up, I'll quickly introduce the councillors. We've got Councillor Whitten, Councillor Greenhalgh, Councillor McDonald, Deputy Mayor Councillor Power, Councillor Mallard, Councillor Peterson, Councillor Duffy, Councillor Floyd, Councillor Evans, Councillor Kinghorn and Councillor Miletto. When addressing the council, speakers at a public forums must comply with the Code of Meeting Practice and all other relevant council codes, policies and procedures. Speakers must refrain from engaging in disorderly conduct, publicly alleging breaches of the council's code of conduct or making other potentially defamatory statements. If I as a chairperson consider the speaker at a public forum engages in conduct of that type referred to in clause 4.2 of the code relating to inappropriate behaviour, I may request the person to refrain from the inappropriate behaviour and to withdraw and unreservedly apologise for any inappropriate comments. When a speaker fails to comply with my request, I may immediately require the person to stop speaking and return to your chair. Speakers should be aware that Orange City Council records and live streams meetings via Council's website. There is also a number of media outlets present who will be filming and photographing. By agreeing to attend and speak at the council meeting, speakers are reminded of the need to ensure all comments are respectful to other people, councillors and staff. Orange City Council accepts no liability for offensive or defamatory comments made by speakers. I ask all of you to be respectful in this chamber tonight. I remind everyone tonight we do have we might have differing views, but it's a privilege to be here in a democratic forum, so we can listen to each other, and then we can listen to each other and before we vote on the motion. Our speakers will be heard in order of their registration, how they'll receive the council. Our first speaker is Chris Dillon. Chris, could you come to the microphone, please? Chris, you have 4 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
And I'd ask, and I'd ask all speakers if we could get to the point and not try to repeat what other speakers are saying. It'd be very, very, very handy so we can get on with tonight. Thank you. Thanks, Chris.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just want to talk about the stated objectives of this nearly $1 million youth investment program and the basis upon which these funds were obtained compared to the reality. Now, I quote, the objectives are to build social capital skills, improve mental and physical health, increase safety, school attendance, build resilience, and other objectives of this nature. Inclusivity and acceptance are additional aims of the Rainbow Festival at a cost of nearly $126,000. Now, how does this measure up to the reality? Inclusivity, according to the English Dictionary, means all in, with everything, including all parties or groups. Does that sound like the Rainbow Festival? Let's look at the rest. The festival consists of several drag queen events, including drag bingo and drag queen story time for children. Drag bingo is described on various sites as the classic numbers game with more risque, adult and hilarious calls. Also, and I quote, drag bingo is a synergy between bingo and drag queen culture. What is drag queen culture? Men dressing up as caricatures of women and performing in nightclubs with adult themes. How do these role models and risque adult performances help achieve the stated objectives for the teens and young adults exposed to them? Drag queens are paid adult entertainers, not mental health counsellors. What about drag queen story time for children as young as 3? What does it even have to do with a youth health program for 12 to 24-year-olds? The books they're reading might provide a clue. My Shadow is Purple and My Shadow is Pink are books targeting 3 to 9-year-olds. Why these particular books? Well, they're about gender identity. These books depict father figures as hard and unloving figures, little boys as sad and afraid, transformed into happy, bubbly, dancing figures after they put on a dress and start playing with girls' toys. The suggestion then is they must be treated as little girls and go into transition. The festival appears to be nothing more than a recruitment campaign for children and teens into transgenderism, influencing adolescents with risque performances and deliberately confusing little children. Inducing gender dysphoria and advocating for so-called gender-affirming care means initiating a lifelong regime of drugs. Puberty blockers that evidently halt proper brain development. According to medical evidence, they cause cognitive decline that is compared to that seen in Down syndrome. Cross-sex hormones, which invariably follow, are shown to shrink male brains and cause pathologic swelling in female brains. Then there are the surgeries to slice off parts of their bodies and create holes and fissures to compensate, leading to infections, leaking, and other comorbidities. These outcomes are the antithesis of the stated objectives of the youth programme. This is what proponents want to celebrate and promote at taxpayers' expense, at a time when there are many people in the town that can barely afford to put food on the table. Tens of thousands of young adults are now trying to turn it all back, finding no treasure at the end of this false rainbow, only pain and suffering. Tavistock in the UK is being sued by thousands of families to the tune of millions of pounds. Why is this council complicit with this ideology? Why does the council put ratepayers at such risk? If in doubt, don't. Yet some here continue to defend it, name-calling and insulting everyone who opposes, scaremongering about increased costs to ratepayers if it's cancelled. For a council that's wasted millions of dollars over the past months, including $180,000 on a B clock only a couple of weeks ago, it's rather disingenuous to raise those concerns. We have provided evidence of harms to the brains and bodies.
Dylan, that's 4 minutes. Have you got, how long you got?
Just another minute. Just another minute.
Excuse me. The gallery, we're not at a football game, so I'd please refrain from clapping. Let's hear the
30
speakers.
seconds. 30 seconds. We've provided a lot of evidence to the councillors from paediatricians, psychiatrists, from medical doctors, even from gay and lesbian groups and former gay activists. Many are just ignored. They prefer to get their information from the Rainbow Gazette or the Rainbow Echo Chamber rather than the medical literature.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Our next speaker is Joshua Conliffe. You've got 4 minutes, Josh.
I'll just adjust this first.
Yeah, you're right, mate.
Good evening. I stand here tonight not to discuss my personal experiences and why I think this festival needs to be stopped or to go ahead. We'll hear from enough straight white blokes tonight about their opinions on the festival. I'm here because I think we need to address some of the arguments that we're going to hear. Why I don't think they're very genuine. We see here tonight people who are unwilling to accept that the world around them is changing. They look around in their town, they see that it's different to how it used to look. And they don't like that. They see that people outside in public spaces don't behave in keeping with their ideals. And they think that this is license to restrict those people from enjoying public spaces. But I would say to those people, progress is progress. We are moving forward, not backward. They've raised concerns about using council funds and then said that it's a bit disingenuous because council's wasting plenty of money anyway. They raised concerns about things going on in the United Kingdom and children being wherever. We hear about a weekend event in Orange, not global politics on a niche issue that they've decided to bring. They've raised concerns about 3-year-olds being entertained by drag queens. I don't see it on the event program. Perhaps I misread it. I don't think it's mandatory. I think they'll be under supervision of their parents. I'm not here to stand up and speak about my years of Christian education and being locked in a room with a person with a book, forcing you to believe what's in the book, because I thought that would be a bit disingenuous. I've done a letter drop to warn you that children are being targeted to enforce transgenderism, a term they made up. It is a made-up term. There is no coherent definition for transgenderism. It's something that somebody made up because they can't divorce politics from expression. You might be tempted to take it for what it is, which is nonsense. However, I would say it's not nonsense. It's actually harmful lies. Unfortunately, it's not as simple as harmless nostalgia for a bygone era. It is a hatred of change and a resentment of those who freely live their lives without the constriction of religious doctrine. We hear them say, "Stop shoving your gender and sexuality in our face. We don't care what you do in the privacy of your own home." Because they remember the days when it wasn't safe or acceptable for people to be openly gay in the community. And they want to go back to that time. They don't want people to feel like they can safely express themselves within their community. They want to return to the time when it was okay to openly belittle those people, make them feel less than, make them feel that they don't belong. Their arguments aren't genuine. They are grasping at anything that validates their personal issues and bigotry and hatred for that which is different. They want to return to a world where they went out to public events and saw everyone looking and behaving like them. That world is gone.
Mr. Conliffe, 4 minutes is up, my friend.
I'm on the end, if that's all right.
10 seconds.
They will rail on about transgenderism and wokeism, incoherently defined nonsense terms. They have their signs here, cancel at any cost. The cost is the reputation of this town and the safety of its citizens. That's the cost.
Thank you. Excuse me. I've asked for silence at the end of each speech, please. Our next speaker is Danielle Ford.
Mayor, Deputy Mayor, councillors, Mr Waddell, directors and citizens of Orange. My name is Danielle Ford and I'm a director at Cheney Southers Lawyers. I'm also the mother of a 6-year-old son who I'm raising to be accepting of all people, regardless of their race, religious views or sexual orientation. The outcome of Councillor Duffy's motion will speak volumes about who we are as a community and what our values are. The Rainbow Festival is an event that will celebrate love, diversity and inclusion. Sadly, it now faces the threat of cancellation. Why? Because the vote of dissent is often the loudest. These archaic views have no place in a vibrant and progressive city like ours. The Rainbow Festival will be run by the Council and is funded by the Our Region, Our Voice Regional Youth Investment Program, where Council has received a $125,800 grant from the New South Wales Government to host the event. In October 2022, the New South Wales Government Office for Regional Youth published its Regional Youth Insights report following consultation with around 2,000 young people across the state. As a result, the state government provided a framework for councils to achieve needs for its youth. Our council already had this priority on its agenda when it prepared the Orange City Council 2022 to 2032 Community Strategic Plan. The strategic plan expressly states that council will provide, as a focus for future projects and action, support for our LGBTQIA+ community. The strategic plan was not adopted on a whim. It was drafted, revised, placed on public exhibition in April 2022 and was adopted on 23 June 2022. All councillors present tonight had the opportunity to respond to the strategic plan in April 2022, almost 2 years ago. Councillor Duffy, why is now the appropriate time to move this motion when the minutes of the council meeting from 23 June 2022 do not set out any objection to the objective of council in supporting the needs of our LGBTQI+ community? Councillor Duffy's motion is inconsistent with the aim of the New South Wales Government to improve social connections for LGBTQIA+ community and our youth, and is inconsistent with the community strategic plan drafted, considered and adopted by him and all councillors present tonight without objection. Councillor McDonnell has reported it would cost the council more than $100,000 if the event were cancelled because council could not claim on the grant as the grant activity would not have been delivered. Cancelling the Rainbow Festival would be more than just an expensive and logistical decision. Reputational damage cannot be quantified. Cancelling the event sends a message of discrimination, exclusion and rejection to the queer community. I personally, as well as my business partners, have family and friends who are part of the queer community. I am concerned that a cancellation will have an adverse impact on the mental health of this community. Councillors, you must vote against Councillor Duffy's motion and be consistent with the objects of the community strategic plan. Let us all strive to ensure that Orange remains an inclusive, accepting and progressive regional city that protects and supports our whole community. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Mr. John Whitehall.
Councillors, I thank you for inviting me here this evening. I'm a paediatrician and therefore I'm speaking on behalf of children as I see it, and in other words, gender dysphoria and the relationship between that and your events. So gender dysphoria was a rare thing once when I first was a paediatrician. We hardly ever heard of it. In 2016, when it came up, I polled 28 of my colleagues. They could recall 10 children who were affected by it, and they remembered it because of the associated psychiatric issues, and then 2 children were claiming to be of the other gender because they had been sexually abused. And in those days, we taught that if a child was complaining of gender confusion, you think child abuse. What's this got to do with it? The point is, back in those days, it was rare, and now it's not. It's surging and a big problem. It was in those days with boys, mostly. And in fact, there was the international things show there was a dysfunction between them and their mother. The mother found him more agreeable in a dress. The kid found that was a good way to bring a smile to the mum, and when things got worse and worse. But it was rare. Now it's common, and it has changed. But there was good news from that before, because almost all of those boys reverted to identity congruent with their chromosomes with traditional psychotherapy and attention to psychiatric needs. Things are different now. It's girls who are coming, and this is characterized internationally by an association with intense psychiatric disturbance. The story goes that these girls are disturbed, they're on the web, they find that this diagnosis is that they're really a boy, and therefore they go and demanding that they change their sex. Well, that wouldn't be possible in that sense if it weren't for another development recently, and that is the medicalisation of the business. We haven't got time to go into it, but I have left for you 3 reading things. One is my head points from this, 2, my letter to the Orange News, which goes into the complications of all this transgendering stuff, and 3, a review I've just written on the side effects of the blockers. The blockers, they say, are safe and entirely reversible. The animal studies and other studies show that that is simply not true. So what happens with these girls? So they're going along, and then they're starting on the process of transgendering. And is that working? No. It's not shown that it makes any difference to their psychiatric issues underneath. And therefore, the governments of Finland and Norway and others have now backed right away from it. They're no longer proposing this. Well, what's this got to do with you? Well, the issue is this, that publicity works. Advertising is a big business. And if you advertise things, then you are likely to get converts or recruits. There's a recruiting process and a new style. Well, how would that relate to you? Because when you're reading the story of the My Shadow Was Pink, that's the same as the girls in Finland and Norway and so forth. You're unhappy in that one, you've got a disagreeable father. All you need to do then is to be socially affirmed as the opposite sex. That's the message of it. Unhappiness can be solved by changing your sexual identity. Well, does that matter? What does it matter if a boy wears a dress from it? Because what it has shown throughout the world is that once you start on social affirmation, then it is likely that you would lead up in the next stage. What's that? Puberty blockers. That not only blocks puberty, but it also affects your head. Read the references that I've got. What comes next is cross-sex hormones. Is that good for your head? No, these are not my studies. There are 2 independent studies in Europe that male brains on estrogen shrink at a rate of 10 times faster than aging after only 4 months.
Mr. Whitehall,
all right.
4 minutes.
So what does it mean then? This means that advertising works. And what my concern is that when you are promoting this as a normal issue, you will be influencing the immature brains of children in which the limbic system of emotion dominates over the prefrontal cortex, and you will be recruiting something. I believe that you should at least explain that to the parents, the dangers of submitting, or better still, make it our registration.
Thank you, Mr. Whitehall. Our next speaker is... excuse me. Our next speaker is Julie Andrews from Charles Sturt University.
I'm here representing Charles Sturt University, which has, as an institution, come out in support of our Rainbow Festival and our queer community. Obviously, there are thousands of people who are employed by Charles Sturt, and not everyone will share this opinion, and we respect that people will have other opinions. But as an institution, we have come out strongly in support. I won't take up too much time. I think there are lots of people who need to speak tonight. I'll just read you a few words that came from our Vice-Chancellor, Renee Leon, who wrote a letter to councillors last week. The university's support of Mardi Gras and LGBTIQA+ events across our footprint sends a clear message that all people are respected and can feel safe being themselves. Charles Sturt has supported the Wagga Wagga Mardi Gras since 2019. Around 15,000 people attend the event each year, and research by academics at Charles Sturt has demonstrated its important impact in fostering inclusion within the Wagga community. We believe a similar event in Orange will enhance the well-being of Orange LGBTIQA+ population and contribute to Orange's reputation as a kind, inclusive and respectful community in which to live, study and work. On a personal note, I just want to say to our queer community and friends here, I am so sorry you are having to endure this, but I really hope you are heartened by the overwhelming outpouring of love and support this situation has created.
Thank you. Our next speaker is online, Mr. James Parker. Is he? Parker?
Thank you very much indeed.
Parker?
I'm most grateful to be able to address you via video link tonight. And although I don't live in Orange, I've been asked to speak on behalf of others in your district whose voices are rarely, if ever, heard. I just want to say that I've got 30 years experience of LGBTQ activism. And I also facilitate a national support network for victim survivors of childhood sexual abuse. And I'm speaking as the mouthpiece of anonymous survivors within the Orange community who wish to be heard. And the people I speak on behalf of want to say, first of all, that they're not against any adult in the LGBT community hosting functions in the Orange community. This civil liberty should be upheld with courtesy and respect of others, which is how most events transpire. But my second point is very serious and is about protecting minors from abuse. We're told that public festivals for LGBTQ youth are necessary to help them live their lives. Otherwise, it's said they'll suicide. But this is a false premise. Festivals can offer temporal euphoria, just as drugs can, and I've been on many gay pride marches myself. But they also can contain negative aspects which don't assist struggling youth. Adults in our sexuality and survivor support network who embraced LGBTQ thinking as minors see how they often then dissociated from mainstream society. And today they struggle with poor mental health. And no one wants poorer mental health for Orange's younger people. Adult members of the LGBT community told me to embrace being gay when I was 14. And within 2 years, I was alcohol dependent. And I was raped at 16, 17 and 18 by 3 different gay men. And sometimes, not always, but sometimes rainbow festivals are used to help highlight to predators where the new young flesh is. I was lured into a highly sexualized environment. And today I meet many men in our networks, gay men, straight men, questioning men, who are also raped during their teenage years while linked to the LGBT community, something that others are very frightened to mention or go near. And every young person in Orange has access to LGBTQ resources more than any group of young people in history. But for copious amounts of money to be spent on rainbow festivals when greater needs exist, I question that. I do believe, and we believe, taxpayers' money should go towards evidence-based care of individuals and proven medical expertise, and not towards funding temporal festivals, which can lead, in some cases, to childhood sexual abuse. And we don't want that authorised by civil leaders. And this brings me to my third point about other vulnerable citizens. 1 in 3 women and 1 in 4 men experience childhood sexual abuse, which means around 12,500 people in the Orange district require support to heal. Now, compare this to the 1 in 10 number that are supposedly LGBTQ. That's just a third of the number. But where are the public funds being spent on the healing of fellow citizens' profound wounds? If we're not careful, a different type of DEI is rising up: discrimination, exclusion, and ignorance. And as someone linked to the gay community, I don't want to see that happen to anybody. My fourth point's about education, and I walk with people who are transitioning and those who are detransitioning. And young people are being lied to today that they're in the wrong body, from infancy upwards, often via Drag Queen Story Hour. Big litigations are now kicking in after minors have received incorrect treatment for their gender dysphoria. So those concerned are left without breasts, fertility, or genitals, etc. So exposing minors to gender ideology without exposure to the latest scientific global insights, I think that could actually bring about future serious litigation for the council. Let me give my final words to an anonymous 14-year-old in your community who sent me the following message, and I quote. He said, "It's hard enough feeling like I do without the only news in Orange being about this damn festival. There's no way I'd be seen dead there. I wouldn't even go if you paid me. I'm so pleased I can talk to you about my sexual abuse and my attractions to guys. You're the only safe place I've got. I need you to be around more than ever." Now I say this, if that's the heart cry of just one Orange teenager who totally rejects this festival and weeps in pain from earlier abuse, then I'm asking you, do you have your priorities wrong with this proposed festival? Thank you for listening to me tonight.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Mr. Ken Friedman.
Councillors and staff of Orange City Council, residents of Orange and the business community, honoured guests and esteemed members of the LGBTQIA+ community. I stand before you today with a heart full of conviction as a gay man born and raised right here in Orange in a Christian household. I understand the importance of both faith and identity, and today I wear both on my sleeve. I'm going to ad-lib this in, but I have close experience of sexual abuse from church groups as well. So I'd just like to add that in to the mix. Many of you may know me as a local business owner, government employee, or through my work within the Orange hospitality community. Throughout these years, I have seen firsthand the struggles and triumphs of our queer community and community members. The Rainbow Festival isn't just a party. It's a chance to celebrate individuality, foster understanding, and create a space where everyone feels welcome, respected, and valued. Imagine the message we send as a city if we choose to silence these voices. Imagine the impact it has on young members of our community who are still grappling with their identities. We cannot stand on the sidelines while a group of individuals are singled out for who they are. It contradicts everything we stand for as a diverse and inclusive community. Think of the young person, maybe even someone you know, who might be questioning their identity in a world that can often feel hostile. Cancelling this festival sends a deafening message of exclusion. This celebration isn't just about a party, it's a beacon of hope, a safe space where young people can explore who they are and see themselves reflected in their community. Studies have shown that social exclusion can have a profound negative impact on mental health, leading to feelings of isolation, anxiety, and depression. The Rainbow Festival is a chance to combat these issues by fostering a sense of belonging and acceptance. Furthermore, the Rainbow Festival presents a significant economic opportunity for our city. Similar events in regional and remote New South Wales towns like Wagga and Dubbo have clearly boosted local businesses with increased tourism, revenue pouring into hotels, restaurants and shops. Let's embrace this chance to showcase the best of Orange, not just for the sake of inclusivity, but also for the economic benefit of our community. I come from a loving Christian family and my faith teaches me acceptance and compassion. Cancelling the Rainbow Festival wouldn't just be a missed opportunity, it would be a rejection of those very values. I would tell our LGBTQIA+ community members that tell our LGBTQIA members that they are not welcome and that their identities are not celebrated. Strength is found in community. Let's embrace this opportunity to showcase the best of Orange. Let's come together, celebrate our differences, and show the world that show the world the welcoming and vibrant city we truly are. Let's turn the Rainbow Festival into a yearly tradition, one that fosters understanding, strengthens relationships, and paves the way for a more inclusive and prosperous future for us all. We cannot forget the long and hard-fought journey towards creating a more equitable society. Cancelling this event would be a significant step backwards. Instead, let the Rainbow Festival be a testament to the progress we've made and a powerful symbol of our collective commitment to building a future where everyone, regardless of their identity, feels included, valued and free to be themselves. Therefore, I urge Councillor Duffy to reconsider his stance on the Rainbow Festival. By rejecting this event, we are not rejecting by rejecting this event, we are not rejecting the very fabric of a community that thrives on inclusivity and respect for all its members. Let us choose unity over exclusion and let the Rainbow Festival shine brightly as a beacon of hope, respect and progress for Orange. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Mr. Jeffrey Chu.
Thank you. I guess I wanted to cast this in terms of the certainty with which gender-affirming therapy is given its status within the general community and in the public media. When, I guess, as medicos, we look at medical therapy, we look at it in terms of evidence, and I guess that's already been mentioned. And with all the, I guess, the health that you enjoy here, with the high quality of medicine that is delivered, it is based on trial data. And so, for example, data that is considered to be very credible are large randomised controlled trials with clear-cut results. That's level number one. Number two is small randomised controlled trials, unclear results. And then we have level three, cohort and case control studies. And this is where we are at with many of the studies with gender transition therapy, hormonal and surgical. And so when it comes to the certainty of grade of recommendations, it actually occupies a level not A, where there's strong recommendation, not even B, where it's a recommendation, but C, where it is optional. That is, it exists at that level there, where the findings are inconsistent. And I guess one of the things that I wanted to point out to you is that, and I think that some of you, I hope maybe all of you, have read my email to Mel McDonald. The natural history of gender incongruence is that a significant proportion of those individuals will actually change their mind yet again. And the 14 to 17-year-olds are particularly so, about 20% of them will. And about a third of those transgender females, that is, biological males going to female, a third of them will subsequently change their mind. And for transgender males, up to 2/3 will change their mind. So this is a natural history. I think the other thing that is also worth noting is that there are 3 separate studies, no less than 3, that have called into question the original Dutch study upon which the revolution in gender-affirming therapy has been based upon. And the conclusion is that the original Dutch studies are unsuitable to either base clinical decision-making or guide public health policy. The other thing that's concerning, of course, is the suicide rate, the death rates. So a Swedish study has documented 3 times higher all-cause mortality over a 30-year period for those transgender subjects who have undergone surgery. But alarmingly, the suicide rate was 20 times higher than that of control for those who have undergone the suicide rate was 20 times higher. And for those who females who undergone transgender surgery to males, the rate was even higher. It was 40 times. What does it say? What it says is that these group of individuals have psychiatric disorders, many of them, before they actually present with gender incongruence or dysphoria, and it persists afterwards, and that when they have surgery, it actually doesn't fix the problem, and they continue to have ongoing issues. What am I getting to?
Mr. Chu, that's 4 minutes. Could you wind up?
Okay, all right. The main thing I'm getting to really is that the Victorian legislation makes it illegal, makes it a criminal offence if you as a parent have a child, even with your consent, to undergo counselling to allow things to take the natural course. And that is very concerning, should be concerning for all of us as parents and grandparents.
Thanks, Mr. Chu. Our next speaker is Linda Ridge.
I'd like to address Council on behalf of all mothers and grandmothers and others who don't want their children or grandchildren led down the pathway of gender confusion. We are those who believe there are only two genders, male and female, created in God's image, that kindness, tolerance, love and respect can be better taught without drag queens promoting books which cause children to doubt who they are created to be. The Regional Youth Investment Program was to be for youth 12 to 24 years. These books focus on children 3 to 9 years. I've read the very sad stories of young people who were led to believe that they could change their gender and then their problems would be solved. They were not. They were too young to understand at the time the ramifications of what they are doing. Now their bodies are forever changed by drugs and surgery, yet they still have the same issues they had before. Only now they have to deal with lifelong side effects of altered hormones and altered bodies. They spend their time trying to warn others of the dangers. We should not be promoting anything that could cause harm to children or young people. And I thank you, Councillor Duffy, for bringing this motion. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Mr. Philip Ridge.
Councillors. My name is Dr. Philip Ridge. I've worked in general practice in Orange for the last 40 years. I've always enjoyed my time here and acknowledge that Orange is now a very diverse and inclusive community. And in my time, I've seen a number of demographic and cultural changes in the Orange region. I'd like to state from the outset that I have no religious or political affiliations or memberships. As in all GP practices in Orange, we do not discriminate on the basis of age, ethnicity, religious affiliation, gender or sexual orientation. I see people of all ages and from all walks of life and enjoy the process of helping, where I can, the people who attend my practice. What I'm concerned about with this proposal before the Council is that I see so many other possible ways the Council could help the community in a positive and productive way without going down this divisive path. In all my 40 years, I have not once been consulted about a child with gender dysphoria, although I'm sure it's only a matter of time before that discussion will occur. The issue, however, that I see every day regarding children are the explosion of diagnoses of ADHD, autistic spectrum disorder, depression, anxiety, self-harm, school refusal, poor self-esteem and threats of suicide, all this in children as young as 8. Following on from these issues, I see drug and alcohol use, social isolation, crime to support a drug habit, gambling, unemployment and homelessness. A patient of mine named Tibor was found deceased in the Aldi car park in 2019. Listed in the paper as homeless, he had an alcohol addiction and despite numerous attempts to find him suitable accommodation, he remained in the block of units occupied by other drug users where he was constantly harassed and physically attacked. I always felt bad that I couldn't help him more in his short, traumatic life. I understand the council position and trying to negotiate a position on this Rainbow Festival without offending those who support it and those who don't. It's apparent that this money is given to the council on the proviso that it is spent on such a festival. I find this the height of arrogance by the state government to dictate to our council how they spend this money with no consultation of the residents as to what the community feels is the highest priority for such a grant. I would just like to ask the councillors, is this the best we can do for our children or our community? There is a myriad of ways we can help our young people who are struggling with marriage breakdown, cost of living crisis, poor nutrition, and the constant intrusion in their lives of social media, which now means that a child can be bullied or influenced 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. The children I see are struggling. Let's help them with a positive parental programs, more child and adolescent psychologists and psychiatrists, safe accommodation for domestic violence victims and their children, education on the dangers of drugs and alcohol use and vaping, counsellors to encourage school attendance and mentoring programs, a dedicated residential drug and alcohol rehab and detox centre like the Panorama Clinic in Bathurst is for me a high priority. I would ask the council to start lobbying the state government for these services, which are desperately needed. If the state government can spend $125,000 on a Rainbow Festival, surely they can allocate a similar amount to child and adolescent mental health services for our community. I ask the council to step up and start working for everyone in our community. I fear this issue has divided us, which is very unfortunate at a time when we need to be working together. I wish you all well in your deliberations on this sensitive issue.
Thank you, Mr. Rich. Our next speaker is Mr. Brett Stanford.
Good evening, Council, members of staff, and the people in this auditorium. This is one of the best packed auditoriums I've ever seen. And the people down in the foyer. That's where the live stream is that correct? I guess they can clap and cheer as they see fit. Good on them. I am more than just a little bit nervous getting up here and speaking. I have good friends that I've had for a long, long time on both sides of this, I want to say fence, not divide, that are members of this community, as my family have been members of this community for over 7 generations now, with my young nephew's kids. I've grown up in a family which were very much a contributing family to this community. I have grown up as a Christian man and lived by Christian ethics for most of my adult life. And as I say, I've got friends here on both sides of the fence. My work is as a peer worker out at Bloomfield Hospital. I'm out there every week and I'm dealing for a large part of what I do with youth that have been affected by drugs, by abuse, by a lot of the things that a lot of people far more learned than myself have talked about here this evening. I've come after some very esteemed and well-known doctors, for example, in this evening. I've met some amazing youth in what I do for my work as a peer worker out at Bloomfield Hospital. Some amazing people. Some of them, to be quite frank, that I am amazed that they're still here, given the abuse and some of the stuff that they've been subjected to. We could go out there right now and I would challenge some people from either side of this debate this evening to just come and spend an hour or two with me on a few of the wards out at Bloomfield and meet some of the people. And I think that you too would be impressed that some of them are still here and breathing air after the abuse they've been subjected to, particularly as children. One young chap in particular, who obviously I won't name, he's out there again. He has made progress because this is his 5th visit, I think, since the 4 years I've been working out there. But this time he has come in as a voluntary patient. When that young guy was a toddler, He was put into prostitution by his own parents. And you can imagine the effect that that's had on that young man. My point is this. I work with some amazing young people that have got incredible talents and that are going to be, if they survive, some of them, and that's not being too dramatic, they're going to make a big impact, a positive impact on this society and this community. A lot of them come from other communities because Bloomfield, as you may or may not know, handles mental health illness with people from all over the state. And I must clarify, I'm not speaking on behalf of Bloomfield. I hope I don't get into trouble for mentioning my working background, but I'm not speaking on anybody else's behalf but my own and what I feel. My conscience and my principles have led me to stand here this evening. When I heard that this Rainbow Festival was on, I thought, oh, this will be interesting. And without fail, it has certainly been interesting, the effect that it's had on our community. Some of those amazing and talented people I just mentioned, the youth, some of them are here this evening. Some of them happen to be gay. Some of them profess to be transgender. The thing is, whether we have a festival or not, they are part of our community. They are part of this community now. And one thing about this meeting this evening, I believe now it's under national interest. So it's going to be very exciting, isn't it, what the outcome is, where we're going to go from here. Also, I believe that our new and wonderful lady that's running the, what's her name, that runs the museum?
Mr. Sanford, that's 4 minutes.
Oh, okay. All right, well, look, I just wanted to say that this is a historical moment in time. We've got these people in our community. They are part of our community. And I think that one of the things about bringing parts of the community together is to build bridges. And if there's going to be a Rainbow Festival for youth, they're young people that need our guidance and our help and our support. And that if we're going to help them, we need to get alongside them. Do I think it's going to be a perfect festival? I doubt it. It's run by human beings like everything else. But the thing is, we can't stand on the side and keep telling them they're wrong, they're dirty, they're whatever. If we're going to make a difference, we've got to open the lines of communication and build the bridges. And that's why I'm supporting the young people that are in this Rainbow Festival. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Sanford. Our next speaker is Mr. Jonathan Hoskins. Four minutes, Mr. Hoskins.
Hello, councillors and locals of Orange. My name's Jono, and I'm one of the organisers of Bathurst Mardi Gras, which will be held next month. I'm speaking in regard to oppositional voices, and I would like to ask councillors to think progressively. Not to harbour on about history, but we have seen much progression in the world. Things that we accept today in today's society, we have overcome the hurdles of naysayers. Due to this, we have become a stronger, accepting, and more progressive population. I believe ending the judgment over the LGBTQIA+ community is our next occurrence to overcome. Would we want to be part of the Central West population and want to support progression and acceptance, to show tolerance instead of judgment? I believe we can do this by being on the right side of history and allowing the festival to succeed. Witnessing this firsthand and the inclusion of Bathurst Mardi Gras, there has been a massive influx of love, happiness, and of course, local income to the local economy. For example, of the local stores running dry of rainbow merchandise, accessories, decorations, and of course, biodegradable glitter. Local businesses have jumped on board this year in support with businesses all down Keppel Street showing their pride displays in their shop windows. This proactive approach to acceptance is what our society is moving towards, and I think Orange will be included with this with the full support of council. To be quite frank, and please don't tell anyone in Bathurst Mardi Gras, but I believe that Orange is going to be much bigger and much better than Bathurst one. And I think with a huge boost to local economy, local reputation, and local progression, wouldn't you want this for your town? My final point is that the festival in Orange will contribute to the Central West in parallel to other events that you celebrate that teach all about loving for all. For example, what day do we celebrate multiculturalism and showcase the fun, food and festivities of other cultures, this year with the theme being Everyone Belongs? That would be Harmony Day. What day do we celebrate our amazing mothers, sisters, aunts and other strong and valuable women with the theme Inspire Inclusion? That would be Women's Week or International Women's Day. What week do we celebrate all aspects of Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander citizens and reflect on the past and foster reconciliation discussions? That would be NAIDOC Week and Reconciliation Day. All of these events that I highlighted are supported by Orange Council. The Rainbow Festival is the event that shows understanding of love for the local LGBTQI community. With the theme for Mardi Gras this year being Our Future, don't we want our future to look bright, progressive and safe? To finish, I'd like to say what has two thumbs and wants this festival to happen? It's this guy. And I'd love for all of you today to be on the right side and be that person as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Mr. Stephen Lawrence, MLC.
Thank you, Mayor, councillors and council staff for the opportunity to come and speak. My name is Stephen Lawrence and I'm a Labor member of the State Upper House and I'm the duty MLC for Orange. I'm also a former Mayor of Dubbo and I've travelled here tonight from Dubbo. I wouldn't normally, Mr Duffy, interfere in the civic affairs of another town, but I was invited as a state government representative to launch the Rainbow Festival, and I did so a few weeks ago standing in the forecourt, and I was very proud to do so. I said when I was standing there that as a gay man I had some understanding of the importance of the Rainbow Festival and also some of the circumstances of our queer youth. I said then that our gay, lesbian and trans youth have higher rates of suicide, tragically, and higher rates of mental illness. That is part of the reason why the state government has funded this festival, and it's part of the reason why it's so important. I can't speak as any sort of an expert about the reasons for those statistics, but I can talk a bit about my personal perspective. I knew that I was gay when I was about 10 or 11. I didn't come out until I was about 20 or 21. During those years as a kid, I just remember the isolation, the shame, feeling like I didn't belong. And now I live a very happy life, I can assure everybody, but it's not easy as a gay kid. And that is why this sort of festival is so important. It's important because I know that it's brash and I know that it's loud, but it has to be so to reach the people that it needs to reach. It also offers our queer youth an opportunity for social connection, an opportunity for them to feel community, which they don't always feel, certainly. If we were, or if this council was to cancel this event, it wouldn't send that message of inclusivity. It wouldn't send that message that you belong. It would send a negative message that you don't belong, that you should be ashamed, that you don't have a place in the community. So I would like to say that for all those reasons, the state government fully supports this festival. The state government is 100% behind its funding decision. And I certainly hope that the council sees fit to continue the festival. I would like to respond briefly to a few of the things that were said. I want to do it with a tone of respect. I think it's always best to assume the best about what people are saying rather than assume the worst. Some things have been said by doctors. Now, there is a really complicated issue about the medical treatment of trans youth. It's not advanced by cancelling festivals like this. It's a matter between trans youth and their doctors and a matter to be worked out in the professional regulatory bodies. It is not advanced by cancelling festivals like this because the reality is gay, lesbian and trans people have always existed in every society across the world. They will always exist. That is why festivals like this are important to reach out to them in circumstances where they are vulnerable. So in conclusion, I would like to send a message to our Rainbow youth You are loved, you are treasured, you are normal, and you certainly have the support of your community. I can see that tonight. Thanks, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Dr. Adelaide Pratt.
Councillors, my name is Dr. Adelaide Pratt and I work at Orange Base Hospital Emergency Department. Yesterday I was stopped on the street by a member of the community handing out flyers encouraging people to oppose the Rainbow Festival. They expressed grave concerns about the safety of children and youth and made some stunning accusations against both the medical and queer communities. As both a medical professional and a member of the queer community myself, I felt it was important that this misinformation was addressed in this forum prior to the vote. Firstly, this community member alleged, as many have tonight, that medical professionals are performing gender reassignment surgery on children without their consent. This is absurd. Gender reassignment surgeries are not performed on children in Australia, and the process of providing what we call gender affirming care is careful and considered and done in consultation with children and parents and multidisciplinary teams of specialists. We would certainly never provide this care to our child without their consent and active participation. Medical practice is subject to a continuous and rigorous process of revision and peer review that's informed by the increasing body of evidence and feedback from patients and communities. You're largely not directly involved in this process unless you're providing or receiving gender affirming care, because simply you cannot understand its intricacies, its complexities, and its importance. These are conversations to be had between healthcare professionals and patients and their doctors, and not butchered in public forums. These allegations of medical misconduct are misinformed and are being weaponised to maliciously misconstrue the objective of the Rainbow Festival, and I encourage you to disregard them from this discourse. This flyer alleges that the queer community isn't normal. What I say to this is simply, please educate yourselves. Queer and gender diverse communities have existed throughout human history and across the world. Queer people have and always will exist. Rigid concept of genders are not innate and are not representative of biology. And to say that there is only an Adam and an Eve erases the entire intersex community, which are people who aren't born with simple XX or XY chromosomes and their hormonal variations. Humans cannot be divided into a simple binary, and to try to do so is not only medically incorrect, but is incredibly harmful to these communities. The accusation that we are targeting children and young people in the city, however, is true. Are disproportionately affected by mental illness, substance abuse, homelessness, and suicide. We are sick of seeing young people full of life and love and talent and potential overrepresented in our hospitals, our psychiatric institutions, and our substance use clinics. We want all young people to know that they will be loved and accepted no matter who they are, who they love, or how they express themselves. As this community member said to me yesterday, the children are our future, and I would like queer youth to know that they are enthusiastically welcomed as part of our community's future. Lastly, I heed a warning. Endorsing attitudes and rhetoric that are hostile to diverse communities will drive professionals and young people like myself out of country towns and back to the city at a time when there is already a critical shortage of health workers in the country. Rainbow Festival is not only a great opportunity to support queer youth, but to demonstrate what a vibrant, diverse and inclusive town we've built here. I implore you to vote against the motion to withdraw support for the Rainbow Festival.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Jennifer Hughes. 4 minutes, Jennifer.
People opposing this festival have just as much right to do so as those supporting it. So thank you, councillors, very much for the opportunity to talk to you this evening. The silent Conservative majority have been quiet for too long, which is exactly why the LGBTQI movement has gained so much influence in recent years. I'd like to point out to councillors that it's a huge responsibility you have on your shoulders this evening, and I'm sure you will all do the right thing by our children and vote in favour of Councillor Duffy's motion. Where the funding came from is irrelevant. Whether you're a ratepayer or a taxpayer, we are all funding this event in one way or another. It is well and truly outside the domain of council to be involved in social engineering and promoting gender transition to innocent, vulnerable children. Using funding from a regional youth grant for a predominantly adult-only event for the LGBTQI community is irresponsible and completely inappropriate. Grant support for our youth, I would have thought, would be better spent offering counselling and medical services, mental health advice, providing wholesome outdoor activities and getting kids off mobile phones, not encouraging members of this minority group in our community to, in my opinion, flaunt their sexuality inappropriately, influencing, indoctrinating, grooming and recruiting young, innocent and maybe confused children. The biggest response from the LGBTQI community to people opposing this festival is, if you don't like it, don't come. This is grossly unfair, given that you are taking over the town on a weekend when children and families are travelling to and from sport and other activities and using Orange as we all do on the weekend. A deliberate strategy, I suspect, and one which goes directly against inclusivity. I understand that events bring money to town and boost our local economy. However, I'd like to call out all the local businesses who've supported this festival. On what price are you willing to pay to sexualise our children? I would have thought that council would have learned their lesson, actually, from supporting the yes vote in the recent Voice referendum. 70% of Clare voted against the Voice, and I can guarantee you...
Just stick to the issue, please.
If it was to be voted on again, the percentage would be higher. It is not council's role to support minority groups of radical left-wing activists and waste much-needed funding. You are not elected to make decisions which go directly against the majority of the community you are supposed to be representing. Your personal views, beliefs and ideologies are irrelevant on this matter, and I hope that you all understand that. I strongly urge council to cancel this festival or move it to another venue, or at the very least protect the innocence of our children and cancel the drag queen storytime component of the program. If the LGBTQI movement are so concerned with their youth, inclusivity and acceptance, they should raise their own funding, provide their own insurance, organise their own ticketing and hold the event at a private venue just like anyone else does who runs an event in Orange. I was absolutely disgusted to see Councillor Jack Evans' social media posts calling to cancel Councillor Duffy simply because he has a different opinion on this matter. Double standards are astounding when council are constantly schooling the community on being kind and respectful. The result of this festival and the way this movement carries themselves will divide our community further, and I urge councillors to consider this when you vote this evening.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Tristan Clark. Tristan.
Good evening, everyone. Can we hear me? I actually wrote a speech for tonight, but I have to admit, most of what I wanted to say has already been said by some amazing people in this community, so I thank you for... This will be really quick. So my name is Tristan Clark. My pronouns are he, him, and I'd also like to say that we should acknowledge the rightful custodians of the land, the Wiradjuri people. This is the Wiradjuri land and sovereignty was never ceded. As most of what I wanted to say has already been said tonight, I might just speak to something that I just heard. In 2017, a postal vote went out to the whole country and it asked, should the law be changed to allow same-sex couples to marry? Nearly 80% of the entire country replied to this question, and every single state and territory recorded a majority yes. Australia has spoken, and do we want Orange to be the town that says, no, we don't accept you, or a town that says, welcome to all? I am a new resident of Orange. I've moved over here from Mudgee. I'm speaking to my personal situations now because my speech is done. I came over here in 2022 and I was absolutely astounded by the diversity, the love of the community, and this is just such a great place to live. A lot of my young friends the same age as me have moved up from Sydney. I grew up in Sydney originally. The inclusivity of the LGBTQI community is incredibly vast. If you want to encourage people to come to Orange and to be a part of this community, you need to send a message to everybody that this is a place where you are accepted, where you are loved. I might just speak to one more thing on my speech, which I'm not reading, sorry, I just remembered. Just speaking of my friends here in the community, I don't have children myself, but many of them do have young children. Okay? It is my hope that when these children come of age, they will feel safe, included and loved, no matter how they identify. And the Rainbow Festival, which hopefully will go on and will hopefully be upgraded to being bigger than the Bathurst Mardi Gras, will be a tool that can be used to embrace inclusivity in this community and ensure that our children feel safe, included and loved. So I urge you, councillors and fellow community members, to please stand on the right side of history. Let's make Orange a place where love wins and where acceptance triumphs. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Ms. Leanne Benson.
So, Mayor and councillors, I'd just like to remind some speakers that the council is not voting on gender dysphoria or transitioning or child abuse. It's actually a vote on a festival. So here we are, 2022, and Orange City Council are preparing to vote whether to revoke permission for an LGBTIQ+ youth festival due to it being controversial. The supposed controversy is Drag Queen Storytime, with 2 books about acceptance, individuality and inclusiveness. Those opposed to this festival use fear and stereotypes to concoct issues rather than focus on actual real life issues. Those opposed to this festival should be more focused on things that really face children: climate crisis, increasing poverty or world conflicts. A better solution to cancelling a community event would be, if you don't like it, don't attend. It is not mandatory and you are not being forced. The Orange Rainbow Festival is important for the Orange community as a whole, as it will promote our city as safe and accepting regardless of gender, sexuality or identity. Cancelling it will send chilling message to the LGBTIQ+ community that we are not supported, and it will be detrimental to many individuals' mental health and would be a backward step for our society. It would also encourage bigots who have been spreading hateful rhetoric and baseless allegations, and it may embolden them to actual violence against the LGBTIQ+ community and the Rainbow Festival supporters. I believe that it would be discriminatory to cancel the festival without adequate or legal cause. I would also like to remind the council of the financial costs that a festival cancellation would incur: the return of grant funds to the state government, the council's liability for cancellation of entertainers and venues, and the financial impact on local businesses. Are these financial costs something that council, ratepayers and local businesses are willing to accept? And would this cancellation of a festival negatively impact our tourism industry? I would ask councillors to seriously consider the human and financial ramifications of tonight's vote and vote in favour of the Rainbow Festival. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Anna Noonan.
Good evening, councillors. My name is Anna. My pronouns are she, her. A really special warm welcome to all of the queer community and allyship who've been brave enough to turn up tonight. We've heard a lot of really alarmist language and allegations about the impact of being a lesbian, gay, transgender, bi, intersex, asexual plus person member of this community. So thank you for those who have withstood that and are still sitting in this room. I'm writing as a local resident, a proud member of the queer community and allyship, and as a mother of 3 small children, and I can tell you I cannot wait to bring my children to the Rainbow Festival in a couple of weeks' time. I would like to congratulate the Orange City Council and the organisers of the Rainbow Festival for what looks to be an extraordinarily well thought out, fun, open, inclusive and celebratory event. Maybe I've missed it on the program, but last time I looked, there was not a tent for hormone therapy at the festival. It has also been incredibly reassuring to see the extraordinary outpouring of support for the Rainbow Festival and for the queer community online. On the ever explosive Spread the Word in Orange, I have never seen such expression of love and community support among and for the LGBTQI+ community. This is the type of inclusive community spirit we would like to see grow and grow in Orange, and the festival is a major step forward in that direction. Secondly, I would like to express my most keen support to all councillors voting against Councillor Duffy's motion. It is disappointing to see and hear that lobbying from communities uncomfortable with inclusivity and community spirit has led to the vote and has led to some of the most disgusting hate mail in my mailbox this weekend I have ever seen. And I quote, the final line in that hate mail was, "Evil flourishes when good people do nothing." Queer people are good people. We know that communities that support all people in all their diversity, including the LGBTQIA+ community, enjoy greater safety, health, well-being and prosperity. Councillors, I am an academic at the University of Sydney's School of Rural Health. The University of Sydney, the oldest academic institution in the country, is a proud long-term sponsor of the Sydney Mardi Gras. I am always acutely aware of the potential harm of any cancellation of any inclusive event and the message it sends based on divisiveness and the opinions of a loud but small subgroup advocating for divisiveness. I note that this Rainbow Festival is hosted by the Sincerely Queer group of the Orange Youth Action Council and funded through our Region Our Voice Regional Youth Investment Program. Supporting young people in regional and rural communities of all sexualities and walks of life is never a poor investment. It is our future. And I would like to share with you, a young, brave person contacted me through posting on Spread the Word in Orange to share his story. He didn't feel comfortable enough to come to council to share his story tonight, which is very telling about the kind of divisive outcomes that this type of vote has caused in our community. He said, "Dear councillors, I'm speaking today to give my support for the upcoming Orange Rainbow Festival to go ahead as planned. I am a former resident of the Leeton Shire of 19 years, so I've seen my fair share of opposition to change and progress. I am gay, having come out when I was 14. I find the idea that some of the members share about the festival not going ahead to be hurtful to me, discouraging and blatantly homophobic. In 2023, Leeton hosted its inaugural Pride Festival, which I served as a board member for. Festivals like this are important as they show the community opening up, begin accepting and mourning those who could not be there to celebrate."
Anne, that's 4 minutes.
Can I have 20 more seconds?
Yep.
Tyler says, "I've lost too many friends and family to suicide because of homic and transphobic reactions. It's a major issue that shouldn't exist today. Orange is a city that has never looked back negatively on decisions and has always been open to new ideas. This new idea will not only create a larger economy for the city, but also show the rest of the regions that it's all right to be queer and Orange can be an accepting space. By showing the respect we deserve, a community that is still being killed in many other countries, may the Rainbow Festival go ahead." Thank you.
Our next speaker, thank you, is Catherine McNamara.
You can't deny it. The phrase, "the personal is political," has been in my head since hearing these calls to cancel Orange's first Rainbow Festival. It all appears very motivated by the personal agenda of one individual who would like to limit the rights and freedoms of an entire group of others. Truly frightening stuff. So I want to provide my own personal story and to tell you how much it would mean to my community and countless others like me if council were to continue supporting this festival. I'm a proud queer woman. I grew up here in Orange and attended religious education my entire school life. But despite being told how not normal it was, or that it was a sin, I could not help being different. I grew up feeling confused, shameful, and very, very alone. I did not feel safe and could not confide in anyone. And I'm talking about Orange in the early 2000s, so not that long ago. Visibility of LGBTQ plus people was not really encouraged in this city then, and I did not have any role models to turn to. So I did what many other queer country kids have had to do. I moved away. And I'm not tooting my own horn, but this kind of thing is a massive blow to Orange. I was a really bright kid, according to the HSE, among the top 3% of the state. But I felt I had to get the hell out of here as soon as I could get my P's. I studied and worked in Wollongong, Melbourne and Sydney. I had to go to larger cities that showed me acceptance, where I could be myself, love who I loved, and find other members of my community to support me. But this is what events like the Rainbow Festival can achieve for young people here. Rather than losing our talented, promising youth to the major cities, imagine if Orange could create an accepting and inclusive environment in our own city so they could feel like they could stay. Please ask yourselves, what message are you sending to the next generations and the region at large if you renege on supporting a positive celebration of diversity like this? Many people are watching what is happening in Orange right now. I urge you to show young people who are just like I was that things have changed for the better in this city, that there is acceptance and visibility. So I moved back here after 13 years with my wife because we had started commuting back and had been impressed at how much things seemed to have changed. We thought, yeah, here's a city that values diversity based on the amazing investments it's put into tourism, health and civic life. My wife is from Sydney, don't hold that against her, but was suitably impressed that the amenities and good community-minded people were surrounding us. Sure, we have had to travel to Bathurst every year for the past few years to celebrate anything gay pride related or for any events for our LGBTQ plus community, but we thought surely one day Orange would catch up. I was so excited to hear that Orange would host a Rainbow Festival this year. Imagine my dismay when it appears we are still living in the past and it has come to this. I argue that it is your role at council to ensure your constituents feel safe. We elect you to represent us and to do the right thing by us. I've battled years of depression and very dark times of mental health to be here now advocating for my community, to be giving you my personal story. We exist, we are here, we contribute to this city and we love this city. Please show us the love back through the provision of safe spaces, celebration and inclusion.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Jordan Thurtell. Your 4 minutes, Jordan.
Hello, my name is Geordie Thurtell. My pronouns are she, they, he. I am the chairperson of Sincerely Queer's youth group and also one of the co-coordinators of this festival. I'm a proud pansexual non-binary person. For those people who don't know what that means, pansexual means that I love all people regardless of their gender, and non-binary means I do not conform to a specific gender. Cancelling this festival will be a scar on our town's history. People in 50 years will look back and think how ignorant we were, that everywhere else has come so far, but we were still stuck in the past. Youth all over Orange are excited for this festival, preparing their outfits. This is mine. I'll be wearing this on Saturday at my stall for Sincerely Queer. I grew up with no LGBTQIA visibility, and I don't want the youth of Orange to grow up like that. I don't want my cousins to grow up with that. People need to see that we are here and we are queer and that we are loved and accepted by our community. Imagine what that says if we don't. Imagine all those little children who feel like this and they feel isolated. I felt isolated. I'd also like to correct something that was said. The drag reading. Due to some recent changes, I'll now be reading the book. My Shadow is Pink and My Shadow is Purple are two incredible stories written by a best-selling author, Scott Stewart. He wrote these books for his 6-year-old son whose prized possession is his Elsa dress. His son got so much hate at his school for this. He didn't deserve it, but he did. Because hate is taught. It is not something we are born with. Here is a quote from the book. I Look at each shadow, no two are the same. On each face, there's no trace of shame. Each different and special and fully unique. No colours stronger, no colours weak. My shadow is purple. And my shadow is not weaker than any pink or blue. Do you know what it's like to be born in the wrong body? Your skin feels physically wrong, and I have broken down on multiple occasions, my arms covered in scratches where I tried to claw out of it. That hurts. When I was 16, the most common thing I said was, I am not a girl, because when somebody called me that, it felt like I'd been set on fire. This is what we'll be saying to the people of Orange, the youth of Orange, if we don't continue with this festival. It is important to all of us. It is important to every single child that has thought, I might be gay, or I might be gay, or maybe I don't belong in this body. This festival is not only for the people of the LGBTQIA youth community, it's for everyone. Ignorance is the largest cause of discrimination. I'm always open to questions. Most people are. You just have to ask the right ones. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Hunter McLaughlin.
Thank you for the opportunity to speak. I'm Hunter. I'm 20. I use he, they pronouns. I was born as a woman, and I now identify as a man. I am transgender. Excuse any nervousness. I don't do public speaking. But the reason I'm here is because I don't want other people to feel as isolated, excluded, and prosecuted by the community as I did when I was younger. I knew that I was trans as young as 13, even younger, but I didn't have that word until I was 13. And when I was younger, all I could think was that I was broken because no one even explained what that could be a thing. I didn't get any explanation of what transgender is, and I didn't fit in. And after finding the community and the term, I realized that was me. And still, the way that this town was back then, I wanted to leave. I planned to leave this town as a 14-year-old. I wanted to get out as soon as I can because this is not safe for me. And hearing about this festival being run, I'm on the board of it. I am part of the Sincerely Queer group because I want other youth that feel persecuted, hated, and in danger in my community to feel safe, loved, and accepted. No kid deserves to feel that hated, no matter what they are, no race, no gender, no identity. Every kid deserves to be protected, and that includes the LGBT youth. My mental health was impacted by the stigma, not by me being trans. Me being trans and figuring out who I am and living true to who I feel I am has been the most positive impact on my life ever. And if I were to hide that, I'm pretty sure I would be among the number of the statistics of children who have committed suicide due to transgender. Kids don't just do it because they are trans and forced into being trans. They do it because they're persecuted because of their identity, because no one will accept them for who they are. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Mr. Neil Carr, who's online.
Hello, everyone.
You've got 4 minutes, Mr. Carr.
Thank you. So I'm patching in from Queensland. So I used to call the Central West home for 10 years. And Orange is definitely in the spotlight right now. My work used to take me from Lithgow to Coonabarabran, Mudgee through to Young, and the amount of messages of support I've gotten in regards for this festival to go ahead is amazing. The amount of people in your community, and I asked, like, Councillor Duffy, have you spoken to everyone in your community? Because the amount of people that are coming out going, Neil, please speak. I run events from Cairns all the way through to Albury, all the way through to Adelaide. Last year, we clocked up 236 events. ranging from bingo, ranging from queer nights, ranging from Pride Festival. I'm the co-founder of Sunshine Coast Mardi Gras. We have done things in Brisbane. We have done things everywhere you can think of. Every small town, even Mareebra, Central West, Bob Catter's electorate. And to think that there is so much hate coming out of Orange right now regarding a festival that's all about inclusion. It's so disappointing. So many speakers before me for the event have spoken so well. So many people against like using the word grooming when it comes to drag queens. And I say disregard that, because that is nothing but scaremongering at its best. And how dare they? My partner of 21 years is Miss Lady Saint Diva, who is a drag queen who was became Miss Lady Saint Diva in Bathurst. It's so disappointing to think that people put those two things together when they haven't gone to a drag show, when they don't understand what we're about, when they don't understand the joy it brings people. And everyone has done so well not to get emotional. And I'm like, oh, how are they doing it? You're attacking people's lifestyles. You're attacking what people believe in. None of the speakers have attacked the churches. None of the speakers have attacked other people's ways of life. But we're getting attacked. People part of the queer community are getting attacked right now. And all I say is, how dare you? What gives you the right to say no to a festival? It was much like the plebiscite, marriage equality plebiscite. What gave people the right whether I should marry the person I love? Same thing. And the Orange is on the spotlight's on Orange right now, because you're going to be on the right side of history. Because I can assure you, you haven't gone down the street and spoken to your checkout operators. You haven't spoken to your bottle shop attendants. You haven't spoken to your winemakers, one of which has reached out to me and is a queer winemaker in the Orange region, going, Neil, how is this even possible? Like, they're in farming. They're the future of Orange. They're the ones that are going to keep like the fruit bowl, like Orange, going for the next, 100 years. All I can say and ask is please be on the right side of voting, and doing general due diligence when it comes to it. Has anyone spoken to Headspace? That's what I asked. Councillor Duffy, have you gone to Headspace, and have you asked how many people have gone sought help from the amazing team at Headspace Orange? Last financial year, they had almost 600 people walk through their doors. 24.7% of that identify under the queer community banner. This year,
Mr. Carr, that's 4 minutes. You're wrapping up? Oh.
Almost. This year, in this current financial year, they've had 419 young people attend. 25.7 identify under the LGBT community. This is the event for them. So far we've had, I think, 700 registrations and 500 people going to march. And I hate that I need to express to you how important this is for everyone in the community and how important this is for Orange. So again, please be on the right side of this and vote correctly. Thank you.
Carr. Our next speaker is Kath Thompson.
Thank you very much, and good evening to everyone. Wouldn't life be boring if we were all the same? Even being a straight white woman in a country town and coming from Sydney, sometimes I feel like an outsider. I've been really, really involved in so many beautiful events and festivals that this town has put on so well. Orange has indeed prided itself in being progressive. We celebrate that we are different from all the other regions. We've worked hard at promoting the unique qualities of the region and establishing an impressive reputation for the festivals that we hold. It seems we have a festival for everything else but the Rainbow Festival. We have festivals for poetry reading. We have food festivals, wine festivals, running festivals. We have festivals celebrating apples, cars, seniors, which I've just become a member of. All uniquely different. They bring people to this region. They bring valuable dollars to businesses in town. Businesses are struggling for that now. Small businesses are closing around town. We showcase all that we have on offer. The LGBTQI community supports all these events. They're there. They're there at their events. We have the opportunity now to create something with them and for them. They're asking for it. You can hear them. They are saying they need it. We're having the Harmony Festival that's coming back, which I'm thrilled about. This year, it's celebrating, and the Mayor has said himself, we come from many different backgrounds, but we are one community. The theme that was touched on earlier and is celebrating this year is everyone belongs. Isn't it marvellous to think that everyone can belong to a Harmony Festival, but we can't find harmony to put on a Rainbow Festival? Just like individual pieces of a puzzle come together to showcase a beautiful picture that is Orange, vibrant picture, uniquely ours, to showcase to those coming to the world and coming from Sydney, Melbourne, wherever. So this new piece of the puzzle should be a welcome addition. Indeed, without this piece of the puzzle, the community itself is incomplete. The picture of Orange is incomplete. If we want to continue to be seen as a modern rural community, this event should go on. I'm a neighbour of yours. I think this event should go on. And I've really enjoyed listening to these young people. You're the future. You're the future. I'm getting emotional. We need to have people that from all different pieces of life and parts of life coming together to showcase what this beautiful picture of Orange is. We are all unique, all of us. Thank you very much.
Our next speaker is Mr. John Carrigan.
Thank you very much for the opportunity to speak this evening. Walking down here, I saw a couple of the flyers that go up every year about this time for the Family Fun Day, which is going to be held over in Robertson Park, I think the day after the Rainbow Festival. I've been a couple of times myself. It's a great day. Kids have a ball, and I always think when I see those things go up, how wonderful it is that these organisations have an opportunity to get together and just celebrate and be. I work in the community sector, and I work with a number of the faith-based communities and their organisations, and they do fantastic work, and they are people of great character, and I value working with them and knowing them enormously. But one of the things that I think comes out really clearly from that is that that event works because there's a bunch of organisations already in place that get behind those people. And there's also council support in allowing an event like that to happen in Robertson Park. Now, unfortunately, this event, for at least part of its targeting, is targeted at a group of people for whom there is nobody who will do anything. Now, there's a couple of organisations that work with young people. I work with one of them. But, it's just not the same. And you know that, if you've worked with community groups, that, when council gets behind something, it's a big deal, and your involvement in this and what you committed to last year was interpreted as incredibly powerful by the people of the communities that we're working with, that I work with. One of the points that's come up for me, having worked 100 years ago in local government, is that the Local Government Act does establish a series of principles for councillors to guide their decision making, and those principles include recognising diverse local communities' needs and identities and looking at things through the lens of social justice. So I acknowledge that one of the principal challenges for elected representatives is when matters come before them that touch on things that mean a great deal to them. And I respect that for the most part, most elected representatives will really engage with integrity with the challenge that presents them. You've been invited here, I think, by a number of the speakers tonight to view this issue through a number of different lenses. I would encourage you to go back to the Act and look at the issues through the lens that the Act itself encourages you to do, to look at it from the perspective of social justice and to look at it from the perspective of the young people who this community is reaching out to embrace by holding these events. So the kids are all right. You backed them last year, back them again. Thank you.
The next speaker is Kathy Thomas. You've got 4 minutes, Kathy.
Thank you. I'm speaking in favour of Councillor Duffy's motion to cancel the Rainbow Festival. Firstly, people opposing this festival have just as much right to do so as those supporting it. So thank you, councillors, for the opportunity to speak this evening. The silent Conservative majority have been quiet for far too long, which is exactly why the LGBTQ movement has gained so much influence in the recent years. I'd like to point out to councillors that it's a huge responsibility you have on your shoulders tonight, and I'm sure you will do all the right things by our children and vote in favour of Councillor Duffy's motion. Where the funding came from is irrelevant. Whether you are a ratepayer or a taxpayer, we are all funding this event in one way or another. As both a ratepayer and taxpayer, I don't think it's appropriate for council to be involved. It is not your role. Using funding from a regional youth grant for a predominantly adult-only event for the LGBTQ community is irresponsible and completely inappropriate. Grant support for our youth, I would have thought, would be better spent offering counselling and medical services, mental health advice, providing wholesome outdoor activities and getting kids off mobile phones, not encouraging members of this minority group in our community to, in my opinion, flaunt their sexuality, inappropriately influencing, indoctrinating, grooming and recruiting young, innocent and maybe confused children. The biggest response from the LGBTQ community to people opposing this festival is, if you don't like it, don't come. This is grossly unfair, given you are taking over the town on a weekend when children are travelling to and from sport and other activities and using the town as we all do on a weekend. A deliberate strategy, I suspect, and one which goes directly against inclusivity. I understand that events bring money to town and boost our local economy. However, I'd like to call out all the local businesses who've supported this festival on what price are you willing to pay to sexualise our children. I would have thought council have learnt their lesson from supporting the Yes campaign in recent Voice referendum. 70% of Calare voted against the Voice, and I can guarantee you if there was another vote on whether or not to hold this event, that percentage would be even higher against you.
Ms Thomas, could you just could you just please stick to the issue?
Yep.
I'm talking about a rainbow festival, not the Voice.
Okay. It is not council's role to support minority groups of radical left-wing activists and waste much-needed funding. You were not elected to make decisions which go directly against
Ms Thomas, that's 4 minutes.
I strongly urge, could I have a little bit more? I strongly urge council...
Quiet in the gallery, please.
Sorry?
Quiet in the gallery.
I strongly urge council to cancel this festival or move it to another venue, or at the very least protect the innocence of our children and cancel the drag queen story time component of the program.
Thank you, Ms Thomas.
Thank you.
Quiet in the gallery, please. Our next speaker is our last speaker is Mr. Christopher Hayward. And, yep, 4 minutes, Mr. Hayward.
Mayor.
Just before you start, Mr. Hayward, I know we're all getting a bit restless. This is our last speaker. The councillors have been silent listening to you. So let's get on with this last speaker. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, councillors and members of the public. My name is Dr. Christopher Hayward. I use the pronouns he and him. I'm an Orange resident, a GP and a senior lecturer at the University of Sydney School of Rural Health. I'm the father of 3 beautiful children. I'm a straight white man and I'm here to voice my support for the planned Orange Rainbow Festival. Am I the emotional one? As a general practitioner here in Orange, I see on a daily basis the positive, protective and long-lasting benefits that providing a supportive and inclusive community can have for persons in distress. The Rainbow Festival fosters inclusion, acceptance and unity within our community, and the positive effects this will leave on the mental health of people, not only within the LGBTQIA+ community, will be real. This positive effect will be long-lasting. The positive effect of hosting this festival will be potentially life-saving. The medical research is absolutely unequivocal in its conclusion that people within the trans and gender diverse community experience a greater risk of suicidal thoughts and behaviours compared with the cisgendered community. People who are same-sex attracted, people who are transgender and people who are intersex still face stigma and discrimination resulting from ingrained cultural attitudes about sexuality, gender and sex diversity in Australia. We need to encourage safe and accessible events that show that as a community, we support and recognise the diversity of all people and that we respect people's rights to choose their own gender. To cancel or to alter in any way the Rainbow Festival will further add to the trauma that has been a factor for many of those people in the LGBTQIA+ community. It would deny empathy. It will add to the stigma, discrimination and prejudice that individuals of all orientation experience. It is my greatest fear, and it is my real fear, that by removing support from this festival, the members of this council may directly exacerbate pre-existing trauma and distress. Removing support for the Rainbow Festival will negatively impact on the mental health of vulnerable people, vulnerable old people, vulnerable young people, who are desperately seeking inclusion and acceptance. I am a fully booked full-time GP, and I do not have the capacity to undo the harm that would come from cancelling this festival.
Thank you. Okay, the council meeting will now resume. There are no mayoral minutes. Can I have, we'll go to item confirmation of the minutes of the ordinary council meeting.
Move the minutes, Mr. Mayor.
Who moved those? Councillor Whitten, seconded by Councillor, is my mic? Seconded by Councillor Greenhalgh. Any speakers? Councillor Kinghorn.
Mayor, 2 things. One, I would just like to ask the CEO when we're likely to start the Lord's Place review.
Thank you. Through you, Mr. Mayor, I spoke to 2 of the panel members. I'll be seeking that review from today. So I would think I will receive proposals from them in 2 weeks. So I would think within 4 weeks, Councillor.
Thank you. And my second question, I asked a question last time about the Ausbond Bankability Index, which had been sitting at a very low level for 12 months and then suddenly it just appeared higher, backdated to June last year. I asked for clarification why this had occurred. We got an email from the acting director, but I think it should be recorded in the minutes that what we have been getting for the last 6 months has been wrong. And I think that in the email where he said that it only started being put into the agenda in January last year. I'm pretty sure it was in there before that, but unfortunately when I look back at the old meetings, it only goes back for 12 months. It used to be on a separate graph rather than the same one as everything else, but I would just like somebody to check that for me, please.
Thank you, through Mr Mayor. I'll take that on notice, not being at the last meeting. I'll catch up with Mr McDonald. Thank you.
Councillor Miletto.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I have nothing with regards to the minutes, but I'd like to propose a motion to change the order.
Can I just vote on the minutes first, and then you get you. Okay, I'll just vote on the minutes. All those in favour? Against?
Carried. Councillor Miletto.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I'd just like to propose a change to the meeting agenda tonight, if somebody would entertain that. That is that item 4.1, the notice of motion of rescission, be moved forward in front of the item number 3, which is confirmation. The council meeting adjourns for the.
I'm happy to second that for discussion, Mr Mayor.
So you want to bring 4.1 up to the top now?
Yes, there's a lot of people who come out here tonight, Mr Mayor, and they probably don't have a great interest in the policy meetings or committees. So it might be a good idea if we bring item 4.1 forward and allow those people to go on their merry way afterwards. Thank you.
Are there any other speakers? There being no other speakers, I'll put the motion. All in favour? Against?
Carried. Okay, 4.1.
Notices of motion. Councillor Duffy.
Thank you, Mr Mayor.
Can I have a seconder, please? Thanks, Councillor Floyd.
I'm going to read out the motion that Orange City Council cancel its involvement and activities in cash or in kind, including staff involvement in the proposed Rainbow Festival as part of Our Region, Our Voice Regional Youth Investment Program. Number one, the issue of governance. Sexuality, gender and identity are not jurisdictions or charters of the Orange City Council. They are ideologies which we should be nowhere near. The voice was mentioned, that was a discussion. I just want to raise the question of why wasn't this process given to ARIC, our Audit Risk Committee? Why wasn't it gone down there? Why have an Audit Risk Committee if we're not going to use it? Talking about governance, and we're also talking about governance. Is this thing, the festival, sorry, I shouldn't say thing, I apologise for that, this festival that we're having, is it R-rated? Is it a rating? Does it need a rating, or whatever the case may be? I don't know. But these are questions that could have been sorted out through ARIC and various different things here. I look at these things across the world as regards to litigation. Litigation you're talking about in Europe, Tavistock has got massive claims against their organisation, their clinic, and they've closed down. Across America, Montana, Texas, there's all litigation about transgenders, operations gone wrong. But litigations are occurring right this very minute in Australia about transgender issues. And occur actually, of New South Wales Feminist Legal Clinic said, and I quote, "We can expect to see more extensive litigation in future years related to gender-affirming cross-sex hormones and surgeries." When I say surgeries, and I know someone did mention about surgery not going on, that I was contacted by someone who'd worked at Westmead. And that person didn't want to be identified, scared of being criticised, said that she witnessed firsthand the repairing of butchered jobs at Westmead Hospital. A butcher's job at Westmead Hospital. Quite significant and major part of the Rainbow Festival is targeting children. The rainbow colours themselves are promotional. Remember Rainbow Bright in the 1980s? Every child that I knew, they liked it just as much as what they did with Taylor Swift. You had Twink and you had the Wiggles. Automatically drew children because they loved the colours. And in this situation here, on this process, we had the talk of My Shadow is Pink and My Shadow is Purple, which is targeting children. And in that, stereotyping boys not being allowed to like pink or fairies or princesses, they are described in the book as things not for boys. Things not for boys. So, obviously, because he doesn't like them, it means must be he be in the wrong body. I don't know. I don't have the answers. I can only listen to the professionals. And the next step, I want to refer you to a lady called Becky Wise. She's a sports fitness instructor, a self-proclaimed tomboy. I'll tell you what, I grew up with quite a lot of tomboys. Every girl in the bush was virtually a tomboy. She hung around shearing sheds, she hung around tractors, she hung around ploughs, she hung around everything. They were tomboys. But they still turned out fantastic women in our community. But recently, she recently shared a video that went viral across the globe. She says, and I quote, "I'm worried for the generations of younger girls who are just like me, who aren't being given the opportunity to grow up and figure themselves out without being told they might have been born in the wrong body. I have been a tomboy my entire life, and if you would have told me, if you would have told a young, insecure Becky that it was because she was in the wrong body, she would have probably believed them." Now, we heard James Parker a little bit earlier on. He's a former gay activist, abuse survivor. He missed all that himself, and he was encouraged to join queer community. He said that councils, ORs, had been given plenty of legal information, medical advice that should ring alarm bells, celebrating and supporting the lifestyle that research and lived experience of many show consistently can have debilitating effects on overall health. He mentioned eminent paediatrician Professor John Whitehall, who was here. I think he's left at the moment. I'm not real sure where he is, but he spoke exceptionally well about the issues and had a lifetime of dealing with young children in terrible and awful situations. He even sent an open letter to council about the medical structures, specialities and condemning gender-affirming case. There are some councillors who have received following stories about young adults, Australians who live and have shattered to the brink of death and a result of exposure to sexual manipulation, sexual abuse and gender ideology during childhood and teenage years. And in a letter he sent it out to her, he gave us the examples of Rihanna, he gave us the example of Jeremy, he also gave us the example of Jay, and of course, I'm not very good at some of the words, it's Lengi Dino, whatever it is, 31 years of age, transitioned to a man in his early life. Today she is suing the New South Wales Psychiatric for professional negligence, having been left with injuries and disabilities after surgery. Her solicitor, Anna Kerr, of New South Wales, said we can expect to see extensive litigation in future years related to gender-affirming cross-sex hormones and surgeries, as I mentioned about surgeries before. Targeting minors, drag queen Kitty Demure has stated that the exposing of children to drag queen is no different to exposing them to strippers or porn stars. To actually get children involved in drag is extremely, extremely irresponsible on your part. He says, and honestly, you're not doing the gay community any favours. In fact, you're hurting us. That's from Drag Queen. The LGBT Alliance Australia has doctors, academics, psychiatrists and lawyers with expertise in safeguarding among their ranks. They warn against exposing children to today's harmful pseudo-scientific gender ideologies, which lead children to believe that either their personality or their body is in need of changing. It's very confusing and dangerous to children. And when I say the LGB Alliance, they quote around about 35 doctors and psychiatric and professionals, which I can tell you I know nothing about. Gay.
Councillor Duffy, how long?
I'll get a.
Excuse me, in the gallery, please. I want silence.
They can go as much as they like.
I want you to go. Keep going.
Mate, I can duck. Before maybe he might get it, but you never know.
A couple more minutes, please,
There's only a
Councillor
couple of
Duffy.
minutes. There's only a couple of seconds to go.
Yep, thank you.
The Gays Against Grooming, not profit or a gay organisation within the queer community opposed under the guise of LGBTQIA+, the sexualisation, indoctrination and medication of children. They're against it. The Rainbow Festival budget. There seems to be an imbalance in the budgeting process. There's 4 pillars in this process, and there is a lot of good things in these pillars. There's 19 themes in it, and one of them is the LGBTQI+. It has 20% of the money, and it's targeted adults and targeting children. Who's copping the flak for all this? We are. Councillors, whether we're for or whether we're against, our community is copying the flak, everyone's copying the flak. And it's quite clever of the state government, aren't they? We've seen it in this before when we talk about cost shifting. They come across, we say, oh, we'll give you this much money, we'll give you more. Fantastic. But this time, they're cost shifting the flak that comes to us by including this in here. Now, I believe it's been hijacked to a certain degree, whether it's been by the state government or whether by council itself, I don't know. But isn't it amazing that we talk about, and a lot of people have mentioned the hatred and all those things. Well, I can tell you the hatred has come from people within this room. It's come from within people at this table. But I will say, and I can play you on my phone here if you wish, with the message of hate that I got. And I want to refer you back to the resolution. And the resolution says that we don't take any process in that process. The CSU can have it. They've got think it's so wonderful. I have no problem with giving them the $850,000, and they run the issue of public liability under their things, because we've been told that the court cases are coming, claims are coming thick and fast. We look at the situation here of a lot of people have mentioned the regards to these words: suicide, depression, insecurity, confusion, isolation, acceptance and mental health. Well, let me tell you, what part of our community doesn't suffer from those things there? I want to go, and I'll take you to tell you.
I want silence in the gallery, please. All the councillors listen. No. Can you? We listen to you guys, so it's time for you guys to listen to us. Thank you.
I've only got a matter of seconds.
That's what you. Yep.
I can assure you that the suicide rates that we spoke about here tonight by the professionals are high and they're not acceptable. But they're also high in other organisations, and I'm talking about the army. Those guys that have come back from Afghanistan. And I can tell you, I've got 2 guys living with my son in Brisbane are going through the same issues. The same issues. And nowhere I have worked and I am working with a guy who is LGB. I have worked with him before. I have cousins. My wife has a nephew. She has a first cousin. My family have got him. And they are accepted in our community. And a lot of them are accepted in our community. They are wonderful people. They get along with their life. They don't want this exposure. And I can tell you, a lot of them are very talented. Very, very talented. We have a young man from Orange who goes all across Australia who is extremely talented. Extremely talented. And yet, as far as I'm concerned, they're inclusive. We include them. I accept them. I don't bag anyone out. I haven't criticised anyone to sit here. What I'm doing is moving a resolution which criticises council involvement in something that doesn't come under its jurisdiction.
Thank you, Mr. Councillor Duffy. Councillor Miletto.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And first of all, I'd like to acknowledge the gallery for the respect that they've shown towards each other and us councillors in particular. Thank Councillor Duffy for his notice of motion. However, I don't support it and will speak against it. I believe tonight as councillors we have an opportunity to make a positive decision on an event for the future of the Orange community. An event that is vital in fostering diversity and inclusiveness within our community. We councillors can play a vital role in celebrating our differences, promoting unity, whilst recognising the importance of embracing everyone regardless of sexual orientation, gender, identity or expression, and respecting others. As other councillors have done, we've received in excess of 300 emails. There appears to be a lot of fact-finding that has been presented to us. Whilst I respect the right of everybody to have an opinion, businesses, schools, the general public have been overwhelming in embracing the concept in their support of the Rainbow Festival for Orange. I've personally spoken to numerous people and asked why this event is so important to the community and to them. The general response that I received was that not having the Rainbow Festival is far more worse. The LGBTQIA+ only represent a small part of the community. However, it is still an important percentage. Approximately 6 years ago, we had a vote and the majority of people supported same-sex marriage. At the time, gay people weren't asking for a special marriage, they were asking for the same marriage. It's disappointing that in 2024 we still have these discussions. Some people have told me that it feels like we have descended 50 to 60 years ago, where there were protests involving gay and lesbian people and Mardi Gras. Some people have also suggested that this type of response to cancel the event demonstrates that we haven't come all that far. As a community, I believe that everybody should have the right to feel accepted, inclusive and not discriminated against. We all should have the right to feel comfortable in our own skin. The Rainbow Festival means a whole raft of different things to the LGBTQIA+ community. There are gay people within our community who have also spoken to me about how uncomfortable they are about simple things. These simple things such as walking down the street whilst holding hands. I've been told that they are conscious about people looking at them. So it is a safety mechanism that they don't do so. Events such as a Rainbow Festival can help normalise gay people, in my opinion, in their lives. It also helps them feel like it doesn't have to be a secret to be gay. Some gay people don't feel comfortable for themselves because they don't feel the community embraces them. When gay people see council embracing these type of events, it makes them feel inclusive and allows them to feel comfortable about who they are. They don't have to pretend to be somebody else. Just getting gay people to come together for a drink and a chat isn't enough, in my opinion. The important thing is, it is the whole community embraces the concept, not just the gay community getting together. From the discussions that I've had, gay people don't want to be treated as being special. They just want to be treated as being equal. Sometimes negative attitudes can demonstrate that gay people aren't equal. And that is what makes an event like this so important, even more important. Gay people aren't knocking on doors asking people to accept who they are. The Gay Festival is just a way of getting the community to embrace who they are as individuals. They just want to feel equal. I understand that there are some concerns relating to the drag queen story time. My understanding is that the story time is a ticketed event and is not compulsory for anybody to attend. It is a matter of choice, nor is it my right to tell other people how to raise their children. And I would never expect anybody else to tell me how to raise my children unless I was doing something which was blatantly wrong. If there is an issue with the content that is being delivered during story time, then perhaps the issue is for government or the police to address, not the chamber within the Orange City Council. The impact on cancelling an event like this, not just on the gay community, on the broader community, would be devastating in my opinion. We look at some of the other places like Bathurst who have an event, Tamworth who have Mardi Gras type float event, Broken Hill who have a huge gay Mardi Gras festival. All these events are embraced by the communities. People's attitudes and understandings are changing due to these events. I feel that Orange is a community that would benefit from getting behind the Rainbow Festival. What message would cancelling the Rainbow Festival send to the gay community? It would possibly telling people who are in their 20s, 30s and 40s who aren't comfortable in their own skin that you aren't acceptable in our community, that you shouldn't be embraced by our community. This all leads to sorts of bad outcomes, which include mental health issues, suicide, self-harm in the gay community. Yesterday I spoke to an experienced paramedic with over 30 years experience and asked him about the incidence of suicide and attempt self-harm in our community. He indicated to me that the level of self-harm was far more great amongst gay youth, especially in the age brackets of 18 to 20, especially involving university students. He also indicated that number was increasing. Gay people should have the same rights as everybody else, in my opinion. They have the right to be happy within their own lives. I hope that when the dust settles, that only positive things will come out of this event. I'm told by some gay people that it's quite confronting for people from gay communities to come face to face with people who wish that they don't exist. It's an emotional thing. They want an outcome tonight which will allow the event to go ahead. Council previously made a resolution for this event to go ahead. Should Orange City Council choose to cancel the Rainbow Festival where numerous businesses, including restaurants, vineyards, motels, who have planned to outlay a considerable amount of money to support the event, may have a negative impact on the reputation of council and potentially a financial liability issues regarding compensation in the future. This is a government grant funded event and should not be sent back. Thank you.
Councillor Whitten.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I'm speaking against Councillor Duffy's motion, but I would like to thank him for raising it, because what we're going to see from this debate is that we are going to show this country that we are an inclusive city, that we do respect the rights of all Australians, irrespective of their cultural background or whether they are from a gay community. And I don't see them from a gay community because these are families and members of our Orange City and our community. They are our brothers, our sisters, our daughters, our sons, our nephews, nieces. We are all one family. And to say that this is not our jurisdiction, it is our jurisdiction. We are elected members of a local council. It is us as the civic leaders who decide and make the hard decisions on behalf of the community. And we don't always get it right. We're never going to have 100% of the community say, Councillor Whitten, you nailed that, you got it right. I'm never going to get that. But if it's a decision that I'm comfortable with, that I believe that I've made the right decision for the community, I can live with that. And it is. It was an interesting night to hear from all the speakers from all sides of the debate. It's amazing how you learn a lot about human beings when you are in a public life, and you learn things. And a lot of the information that has been raised by Councillor Duffy is not backed by fact. We have to take on his word the things that he raises in this chamber, like any councillor. And I'm no doctor, I'm no professional, but I do understand the human effect that this debate has had on members of the gay community in Orange. And what I say to you, those members of the gay community, you do and are loved by this community. Thank you, Mr Mayor.
Councillor Evans.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I might give the standing up thing a go. Well, thank you, Mr Mayor, and thank you, Councillor Duffy, for showing your true colours. I reckon they're nothing similar to what's shown in the audience here tonight. I, like a lot of people, probably thought we weren't going to have this discussion in 2024, but here we are. Now, I've always believed that Orange was an inclusive and forward-thinking city, but it would seem others do not quite think the same as I. Now, let me share some stories with you of some friends of mine who also thought this way, a bit of a rainbow story time, if you will. Now, at two different times in my life, I've had a male and a female housemate both attracted to the same gender. The male, when I met him, was already quite comfortable in his own skin, and the female went through her self-discovery while I was living with her, which was quite a challenging time, trying to work out if her family and her friends were going to accept her. Luckily, they did. But this week, you've told that person they're not welcome in this community. Another good friend of mine is in a same-sex marriage, and she and her wife now have a child. They've recently taken them along to a drag time story event in the hopes that they might learn about acceptance and being different. They're hoping this is going to come in very handy when they get to school. They get there, and a lot of the other parents are going to have one of each parent, a mother and a father, and I've got two mums. Well, we're here to teach her that that's fine. This week you've told that family they're not welcome here, Kevin.
Councillor Duffy.
Councillor Duffy.
Good on you.
My other friend has a younger sibling.
Councillor Duffy.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. My other friend has a younger sibling who's currently going through the process of transitioning. It's been a very challenging time for both the individual and their family. Luckily, they found support in their local community, which isn't Orange, because you've just told them they're not welcome here. The businesses represented here tonight have worked hard to build a workplace culture that is accepting of all people, and it's something I'm proud to see in this community. It's a shame that some people would try to have our council, as the leading organisation in our community, attempt to undo all the good work we've done, and that those same people thrive on making others feel uncomfortable and not accepted in this wonderful place to work, live and raise a family. I'm adamant this event will not be cancelled. I believe that these people that I've mentioned are in fact welcome here. And as you can see from the turnout and community members and businesses, they also believe they have a place in this colour city.
Councillor Kinghorn.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm also not supporting this motion. Why? Most of us know someone in the LGBTQIA plus community, family, friends, workmates, teammates, etc. All the people that I know in this group are good people, decent, hardworking, good citizens, just wanting to live their lives without any dramas, just like the rest of us. Forcing the cancellation of this festival will have a profound negative impact on these people and their families and friends. We will be giving a message that we don't value them, which is unfair and completely unnecessary. Having said that, I would like to acknowledge the people who do oppose the festival, and I understand that for most of these people this is not driven by hatred or homophobia, but by a genuine concern for children. These people should be able to put forward their concerns and have them addressed honestly and non-judgmentally. Everything we do should be able to be scrutinised, and we should be able to handle that. The main area of contention is the Rainbow Story Time. Director Maunda was kind enough to send me the links for the two books, My Shadow is Pink and My Shadow is Purple, and I watched the YouTube versions of both. I thought the second one was fine. I did find the first one very confronting. My concerns related to, firstly, feeling really awful for the child and the dad, who I didn't think was an evil dad. I think he was just as confused as the child was. So I found that really hard. And secondly, I wondered if it was possible for it to initiate gender confusion in the 3 to 9-year-old age group for which it is written. I didn't know. So I dealt with this by reaching out to fellow health professionals who are much more familiar with this sphere than I am. I spoke to people working in mental health, nursing, social work, general practice, psychiatry and psychology. The overwhelming consensus was that the story will not initiate gender confusion in kids, but will help them to accept it in others and would help those already experiencing it. The right thing for me was to follow the evidence. There are not many peer-reviewed studies available on Rainbow Story Times, as it's a relatively new construct, but those that do exist seem to endorse the practice. I say this as a straight female who's never experienced any confusion about my gender or sexual orientation. I have no idea what it feels like for those who are anxious and confused about these things. I do know that if these people experience this angst in a world that is supportive, empathetic and accepting, their lives will be better. It's about kindness, really. I would like to ask Director Maunda to explain the process by which these books are chosen and what evidence we require about their appropriateness.
Through you, Mr. Mayor. So the books are chosen by people outside of council. They're deemed, they're publicly available, they're not banned, they're recommended in the community, they've been read at many story times, and they're affirming, supportive books. So they were selected to provide knowledge to people who wish to attend about the subject matter.
Thank you. I just thought that might settle the concerns of some of the people who opposed the festival. Thank you.
Councillor McDonald.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just want to firstly give a bit of a, even though we've already talked on it, bit of a content and trigger warning, because there's some really raw things that have already been said and I'm about to say as well. So, disclaimer. The LGBTQIA+ community is a priority population under the National Mental Health and Suicide Prevention Agreement. The grant for our Rainbow Festival from the state government is focused on improving the lives and well-being of young people in regional areas. Now, for someone who's complained for years, and again tonight, about governments shifting costs onto councils, to once again deliberately lobby for council to take a significant financial hit is hypocritical. What's even worse is the unquantifiable damage his actions have done to our community and to our city's reputation. More than 80% of LGBTQIA+ people experience high or very high levels of psychological distress. 42% hide their sexuality or gender identity at social and community events. LGBTQIA+ youth are 4 times more likely to experience depression and 2.5 times more likely to experience an anxiety condition. 1 in 6 have attempted suicide. 1/3 have harmed themselves. The research is repeatedly showing that this is caused by homophobia and transphobia, persistent bullying and harassment, including cyberbullying, social and/or geographical isolation, mental, emotional and/or physical abuse, lack of parental or family acceptance, sexual abuse, and a lack of intervention when homophobia and transphobia has taken place. 60% of LGBTQIA+ youth aged 14 to 21 feel unsafe at secondary school. 60%. 80% of homophobic bullying occurs in schools. LGBTQIA+ youth who self-harmed, and this is where my trigger warning comes, so I apologise in advance. Youth who self-harmed have cut their arms, their legs, their breasts and genitals, they've burnt themselves, they've starved themselves to prevent menstruation, they've over-exercised in an effort to delay puberty through weight loss, and or banged their head or body against hard surfaces. And I'm more than happy to provide the peer-reviewed literature and evidence to back this up. Rainbow Storytime events are age-appropriate readings of children's books. There is no mention of gender or sexuality, nothing about encouraging children to transition. There is no transgender agenda. Storytime events promote kindness to others, being comfortable with who you are, even if you're different, and accepting others who are different. If you cancel Rainbow Storytime, you are telling our children they're not allowed to be who they want to be. You're telling children they're only allowed to be what you want them to be, that they must conform to your rigid, outdated stereotypes. Everyone is entitled to their own beliefs and opinions, absolutely. But no one is entitled to spread lies, hatred, fear, or discrimination. Rainbow Storytime events and the Rainbow Festival must go ahead. Last year, this chamber passed a motion regarding controversial matters, justification for which was referencing abuse that staff received around the Rainbow Storytime event. Yet no other councillor here even attended that event, nor did they speak directly with the affected staff members to find out if they actually needed the protection. Spoiler alert, they didn't. At that meeting, I and others here warned of the danger that such a motion posed to our community by opening the door to public hate speech. And look, here we are. Now, unlike other councillors, I'm not going to thank Councillor Duffy for his motion. I disagree with Councillor Whitten. We didn't need it to show that we're a united city. Our community is fractured and hurting because of the actions of a few close-minded people led by an elected member of council. This public discrimination and hatred that's been fostered is exactly what you were warned about last year. Now, I've tried tempering my words and my reactions, and it hasn't been easy, but I've had enough. We need to call this motion out for what it is. Now, the Oxford Dictionary defines bigotry as the obstinate or unreasonable attachment to a belief, opinion, or faction, in particular prejudice against a person or people on the basis of their membership of a particular group. This motion is bigotry writ large, and for any elected member to be fanning the flames of discrimination, hatred, and intolerance for political point scoring, especially in an election year, is beyond disgusting. Now, if you'd actually bothered to attend a Rainbow Storytime event or do any proper research, you'd know it's an age-appropriate educational experience about diversity and inclusion, with stories about individuals and families who are different and how to treat them with kindness. There was not and is not anything about forcing a transgender ideology on children. The only ideology these events promote is one of kindness, acceptance, understanding, and inclusion. If you object to that ideology, then you do not belong in this chamber representing our community, nor do you belong in our community at all.
Excuse me. As I said before, no, Councillor Duffy, I'm chairing this meeting. Can we have some silence, please? As I said, we listen to you guys. You need to listen to us. Thank you. Councillor Floyd.
Yeah, thank you, Mr Mayor. I'll be supporting this motion tonight. Firstly, I thank all our speakers tonight and I respect their thoughts and ideas. Thank you very much. While I also respect the Rainbow Festival members and organisers engaging in their own festival and voicing their interests and concerns, I strongly believe that local government should not be the vessel used to convey these interests and concerns. I have received over 260 emails and at least 10 phone calls in the last 2 months from local residents regarding this festival. Numerous concerns have been raised in relation to the story time element of this event, during which I understand 2 books will be read. To make an informed decision on this, I have read both the books in their totality. Having now read these books, which are proposed to be read in a public domain to a target audience of children as young as 3 years of age, I find this scenario inappropriate. I question the logic why children in the 3 to 9 year age group are being privy to this information from these books. To do so could possibly cause unnecessary confusion. With mental health being a major social issue, it is imperative to critically assess what vulnerable young minds are subjected to, and when and where it is appropriate to introduce them to certain subjects as outlined in these books. I believe that in no way we should be exposing children to this type of behaviour adjustment learning at such a young age. As a council, I say we should be distancing ourselves from this, and as a parent, I say just let our kids be kids. They grow up too fast anyway. I wish to reiterate, I support people across our community gathering to celebrate their interests, culture and lifestyles, whilst ever it is done peacefully, lawfully and with no potential harm coming to others, especially the vulnerable. However, for the reasons I have outlined, I support this motion tonight. Thank you, Mr Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Floyd. Anyone else want to speak? Councillor Greenhalgh.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I'm just gobsmacked that in 2024 we're actually even having this conversation. I think it's pretty clear from the last election and the number of new councillors that are represented here tonight in our community that our community wanted to see change. So thank you to all of those that have come along tonight. We are listening to you guys. Our role as an elected leader in our community, I believe we should be inspiring diversity and inclusion for all members of our community, for all walks of life. And being a mad sports person, I'm going to use my rugby league analogy here. If you don't want your child to play tackle football, put them in soccer. We are not forcing people to take their children to these events. My personal opinion as a mother would be, I want my children to understand that some people have two mummies or two daddies. I don't want my children to be bullies and find that that is unacceptable. So I commend us for moving forward as a community so that we're going to have a better community for the future of our city, and you guys are those people. I can't wait till the day when we see a more diverse council where we have our first LGBTQIA+ on council. I'm also fortunate in my workplace. I work for a company based in Sydney where we fully support that community, and I'm happy to say we have drag queens at our work functions. So thank you.
Councillor Mallard.
Thanks, Mr Mayor. I oppose the motion and I wholeheartedly support holding every single event in the Orange Rainbow Festival program. I want to go first to the idea that this isn't something for local government to do and it isn't a role, and I just want to note in the Local Government Act the role of the governing body, the very second point, to provide effective civic leadership to the local community. If we were to cancel this event, that would be a massive failure of leadership. We should be holding this event and we should be standing up against the voices that say that we should be sending this sort of a event away. Now, Orange holding a public event in celebration and acknowledgement of the LGBTQIA+ community is actually long overdue. Other regional cities like Bathurst, Wagga Wagga, Dubbo, they've been doing so for years, and an inclusive and welcoming city like Orange should embrace this opportunity to come together in public gatherings, have fun, spread love, and inform and educate people of all ages about diversity, acceptance and inclusion. Events like the Rainbow Festival promote community wellbeing. As we've heard, both in emails we've received and now this evening from a number of medical and mental health professionals, these events should be regarded as an important mental health initiative. In fact, LGBTQIA+ acceptance is suicide prevention. I want to take a moment just to read, I know Councillor McDonald's already provided some statistics, but I just want to read a couple of small parts out of the New South Wales LGBTIQ+ health strategy. This wasn't developed under Mr Lawrence's current government, but under the previous, obviously radical leftist Minister Brad Hazzard. First of all, the introduction notes, mental and emotional distress is the most prevailing issue faced by LGBTIQ+ people, with persistent exposure to stigma, discrimination, social isolation, and environments that create social anxiety being the key causes. When we go to the section on priority groups in this strategy, people living in regional areas are identified, and the factors that impact their health and wellbeing, it notes. Higher rates of mental health issues compared to their metropolitan peers, linked to social isolation, limited opportunities for interactions with LGBTIQ+ peers, and pressure to keep sexuality, gender, intersex variation hidden in small, often conservative communities. We shouldn't be one of those communities anymore. I do note it also says limited service availability is a key problem, and I absolutely agree. I know some opponents of the festival think we need more in terms of service availability. I couldn't agree more, but we're not going to fix that by cancelling this festival, and we are going to do something good by going ahead with it. The Rainbow Storytime event, which opponents have claimed to be their main concern, although they seem to be happy to have Councillor Duffy moving to cancel the entire weekend's program, itself plays an important role in promoting a better community. It provides children with stories that convey messages of universal acceptance, self-expression without shame, and understanding the diversity that exists in the world in a way that didn't occur during my childhood. Now, probably a bit distinct from Councillor Kinghorn and certainly from Councillor Floyd, when I checked out the videos of the books in question, I found them to be really moving stories with age-appropriate themes, teaching us not to make people feel bad because they don't fit into one specific box in terms of how they think and feel, and that we should love and accept others being who they are. And I think the dad in My Shadow is Pink went on quite a powerful journey around that. I also heard this week, going to Councillor Floyd's decision that because he's looked at these books, he doesn't think it's appropriate. I heard from a parent of 2 children who are aged 7 and 3. The 7-year-old has brought the book home multiple times from the library. Their parents have sat and read the book with both of the children. They've let the children ask questions. They've talked things through with the children. They're not indoctrinating them, they're helping them learn and understand something out of those stories. And on the other side of the story time, when the awful conflation of drag with the sexualisation of children comes up, drag is not inherently a sexualised performance. It is a form of creativity. It is a form of expression that has existed for a very long time. Sure, you can have sexualised drag performances, but that's not what will happen in an age-appropriate drag story time, which is being planned as part of a council event. Unfortunately, what I'm finding is that the opponents lobbying against this festival are making arguments that really turn reality on its head. They're suggesting that initiatives to promote inclusion and acceptance are actually the cause of negative thoughts, feelings and experiences affecting vulnerable people, rather than being part of the solution. Now, this motion and the public activity by those lobbying in favour of it during the past week, since it has been public, and for many weeks earlier outside the public eye, has itself been harmful to our community, as we've already heard. It's caused anxiety and distress for members of the LGBTQIA+ community, the family and friends who love them, and many others in the general public. It's caused damage to public perceptions of Orange as a welcoming and progressive city that people with contemporary values should want to visit or even move to. I did an interview earlier today with a journalist who had visited Orange not that long ago and who was stunned by this motion because he had felt we were a progressive city and he was concerned that we weren't. Now, aside from being misguided and drawing on a lot of misinformation about the issues, trying to characterise the widely adopted contemporary approaches of healthcare professionals and other expert bodies as ideology, and presenting their own perspective as scientific truth, I just find that the tactics and the ethics of the opponents to this festival have been shameful. We've heard about the pieces of paper that have been shoved into people's letterboxes unsolicited, including gay households who I've heard from, with misinformation going way beyond concern about kids to suggesting that this is about people who are not normal. It is vilification of gay people. It doesn't belong in our community. It's been shoved in letterboxes. People have been accosted in cafes by opponents of this festival. Councillor Duffy's own behaviour in pushing this motion on behalf of them needs to be condemned. From misleading the chamber during budget review at the last meeting to create an opportunity to bring the matter up, to making an absolutely outrageously false claim in the media last week, which required Orange High School to waste time and energy issuing a denial of something so ridiculous that nobody sensible would believe it, and that anybody less sensible could confirm is a worldwide hoax that is thrown out to try and discredit a genuine discussion and a genuine understanding about trans issues. You could have found it was a hoax with a single internet search. Even worse than that is that on Saturday, right-wing Cumberland councillor Steve Christou posted a video online in which he said, I've been approached by Orange Council councillor Kevin Duffy and Orange Council residents asking for my support for his motion to ban the taxpayer, ratepayer funded Rainbow Festival. Now, Cumberland Council had a motion just last week where they banned drag story time in council facilities. They had an incredibly unpleasant and ugly meeting, and I have had someone from Cumberland let me know that they had outsiders from fringe right-wing groups come into that meeting and disrupt it. Councillor Christou said it's very important that people show up to Tuesday night's meeting at Orange Council and support Councillor Kevin Duffy. It's really dangerous what Councillor Duffy has been playing with. This is a right-wing campaign that is being used across the country at local government levels. If people aren't aware of the Cumberland motion, the Hills Council motion that passed recently as well. That's why the eyes of the country are on us and why it is so important that we defeat this motion tonight and that we show that councils can be effective civic leaders, can stand up for their communities. I just want to finish by saying this motion needs to be defeated as resoundingly as possible. It would be better if it had never been brought. But if there's something positive to take from us having to go through this debate, it's the massive outpouring of community support that immediately came through when this motion became widely known in the public. To the community members who sprang into action and organised awareness, coordinated petitions and solidarity actions, sent emails of support and have stepped up all the way through to tonight to show that Orange is better than this, thank you and well done. It's fantastic that the growing awareness about the festival has actually driven registrations through the roof this week. Once we've dealt with this debate tonight and got rid of this motion, let's spend the next 2.5 weeks working together so we can make this festival an absolutely massive show of love, pride and allyship.
Councillor Powell.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I am supporting Councillor Duffy's motion. And like Councillor Evan, I don't stand very often, but I will stand tonight. I want to stand up for Orange City Council staff. Thank you. Thank you. You've done a great job. We are going to do the right job. Going to do the right job. I know you're going through hell to support these amazing people. And we're here to back you. Thank you for everybody. My Christian brothers and sisters here tonight, don't hate me. Please, I love you. I love God. And I was a minister 25 years. But the amount of robustness that have come from my Christian brothers and sisters, I still love you. And that's what the Mayor said, that he wants to bring the community together. After we vote on it tonight, I pray that we come together again and we unite Orange in the way that I came here 40 plus years ago, seeking one city that would accept me. Driving down Summer Street, hoping that I would not be judged by the colour of my skin, but by the contents of my heart. And I found it. I found a sporting region accepted me in. I've been playing sports for Cabonshire, playing basketball, playing football, playing cricket. And I want to repay Orange by saying, you are accepted. You are accepted. Thank you.
Councillor Powell. Councillor Peterson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I won't stand, but thank you very much for all the quite heartfelt comments people have made tonight, and I'm also very sorry that we've had to do this way. So I think the Rainbow Festival has indeed united all of Orange just through a shared disappointment and anger towards council, and I share it too. I think this is probably the lowest point of our brief council time. I feel we could have really avoided some, but probably not all of that harm, with some transparency and accountability earlier on. So I really think we could have been transparent by giving the community via their elected councillors a say in the festival much earlier than today. Last October, the Chamber voted 9-2 that elected representatives would have the ability to discuss issues that are going to be controversial to the community. I did put forward that motion and got some criticism for doing so, but I think this disaster, and it really is a self-inflicted disaster tonight, indicates my reasoning. Had we discussed it a few months ago, the festival still would have happened. Mathematics is very clear, but maybe we could have had some quieter, low emotion discussion before we organised or booked or decided on anything. Maybe we could have heard some views, changed people's minds, made changes, see what other councils have done, taken people with us. Probably importantly, given people a chance if they felt the need to conscientiously object, they could have done so before that would cost $100,000. I don't think we probably would have ended up in a circle of agreement singing Kumbaya or something, but at least we wouldn't have had the debate on the national news. And I think the individual harm that's clearly been caused tonight would have been much less, and same with the reputational harm had we done so. I understand why we might not want to do this, because we might feel that it's something that's so clear-cut we don't need to debate. But unfortunately, if we decide, again, not to be transparent, not to discuss items people are obviously passionate about, then some in the community will form the impression the council is trying to sneak something past them. This is the 21st century. If people get that impression, then they will get organised. All sides have clearly gotten organised to make sure their voices are heard. And maybe that's okay. I mean, after all, you all pay $700,000 a year for this chamber through our fees and mostly super and conferences and stuff. And you might well ask, if you're getting value for money for that investment, if the councillors don't actually matter, because stuff just happens anyway without us. Fortunately tonight, if nothing else, I think has been much better than I feared in terms of people being able to say their piece. And then if we disagreed with him, just arguing fiercely against, with my colleagues have done very well. It's called democracy. It's the best system we've got, and I think we need to give it more of a go. I think the other weakness about not having that discussion is there wasn't really accountability. And do you know, in my opinion anyway, why the Kathmandu Laneway is less of a travesty than the Golden Balls and the B Clock? And my answer is the Laneway came to a vote. So if the most important thing for you for council, if you're in disagreement of 100K being spent on public art and private property, well fine, there's 5 councillors that voted against it. But if you think this expenditure is a great idea, we need to liven up our city, there's 6 councillors that voted for it. Regardless of the view that a ratepayer has, if that is the most important issue they've got in the election, they can find someone that represents them. The B Clock, the Golden Balls, and the Rainbow Festival are disappointing because regardless if you think organisers should be thanked or criticised, actually no one's responsible. You can't credit or blame last council because they just voted for those 3 events as an overall spend without mysteriously knowing where the money was going to go. We can't apportion responsibility to this council because until today we weren't going to vote on it all. We can't thank or curse staff or the organising committee because those people are hard-working people just trying to make their city better, and ultimately the decisions and any disagreement that comes with it needs to lie with us. So until tonight, no one's responsible. It's never anybody's fault. I'm really surprised that Scott Morrison hasn't yet joined local government. I need to
There's still
say,
time, Steve. There's still time.
Election year. With the greatest of respect, I think I need to touch on Councillor McDonald mentioning my motion on controversial items last year. I agree. I think we need very careful care about how we discuss items, and this was not the forum or way to do it at all. But it is good to hear the thoughts. At that same meeting on the October 3rd, the same councillor brought for discussion whether we should remove the mayoral stipend from the current mayor and give it to the deputy while the mayor was on personal leave. As a doctor and patient, I would disagree with that thought, but I would definitely defend to the death your right to say it. And I think that has happened tonight, which is good. So yes, I think local government can only function if the community feel they've got transparency and accountability from their elected representatives. And I'm genuinely really disappointed that I think I'm saying this again just 5 months after I said it last time. So probably a forlorn hope, but trying to get some agreement, I'm going to propose an amendment. The amendment being that the proposed cancellation only apply to the drag queen story time and the rest of the festival continue. Why am I going to do that, particularly when it's clear that it's going to fail? Well, as an Orange City Councillor, I just don't think I'm here to state my own views alone. My obligation is to present the views of the community. I read and respond to every email I've got. I'm sure many of the people in this room can vouch for that. Because of that, it has been a very busy few weeks. Now, from the hundreds of interactions I've had from people that are opposed to the festival, I think their greatest concern was the activity aimed at prepubescent children. Okay. From the hundreds of interactions I've had with people that are in favour of the festival, my one-line summary of the many concerns they have is that cancelling the entire festival is easily interpreted as a personal attack, and I am super reluctant to spend a Kathmandu's laneway worth of money on merely a cancelled festival. It's too late, and I acknowledge all the time and effort that's been put in by staff and the working group already. At least I'll feel that I've tried to represent the community as best I could and not shutting any one group out.
As
Are you
Councillor,
moving an amendment?
Yeah,
Councillor.
I think I did.
You get a seconder? I'll second
Oh
it.
yeah, good
Happy to
point.
second if.
I'm running the meeting, Councillor Duffy. So did you second that, Mr.
Yes,
Councillor
I asked
Duffy?
him, but he-
Thank you. Is there any debate on the amendment? Councillor Floyd. Councillor Floyd. Oh, sorry, Councillor Kinghorn. Sorry.
Thank you. I just want to clarify something. I'm fairly sure that one of the speakers told us that the story time had been changed and that it wasn't going to be a drag queen doing the story time. So I wonder whether that makes a difference to what Councillor Peterson's proposing.
Yeah, unfortunately, I really just don't know because I don't think we've had time to really properly, quietly behind the scenes investigate, what it is and if there is, some of the problems have been alluded to or not. Look, I'll put the.
We can ask the director to confirm it, Councillor Peterson.
Yeah.
Mr. Morner, are you in a position to formally confirm whether that's the case?
So I am, and yes, it is the case.
Councillors, it is the case that a replacement has been made.
All right. Well, should I just dump the amendment now, or should we have discussion as people may want to say things about it?
Your call, but I think
point
we know. You can't ask the chat. Do you want to withdraw your amendment?
Yes, I'll withdraw the amendment. Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Can I say that just one last point then? Ultimately, I think council is definitely not the body to decide the merits or otherwise of a Rainbow Festival. Unfortunately, it has to be this year because we received the grant and council staff have put time into the event. But ideally, in the future, this event should be run by a group of interested residents and not organised by council. My email inbox in this room says there's so many of you. Please consider joining the working party for this. The Rainbow Festival could be the same as the Running Festival, the Country Fair, the Chain Music Festival, the Mountain Bike Races, Orange Show, the Volcanic Challenge, the White Tie Ball, Battle in the Bush, Food Week, the Banjo Patterson Festival, Lonely Mountain Challenge, New Blast Car Show, Wine Week, the Easter Festival, and many others that I didn't think of. These events are run by passionate volunteers who believe in the event. They put their time and money into making it happen with some support from council. Council staff and resources can then be put to other responsibilities of council, and this sort of debate will never happen again.
Councillor Peterson,
Yeah, sorry, through you, Mr. Chair. I just wanted to clarify, Councillor Peterson, the story time is still going ahead, is proposed to still proceed. The reader has changed from a drag queen to a member of the youth community. So I just wanted to clarify that just so there wasn't any confusion.
Fair enough. I'm such a non-expert. I don't know much about it, but unfortunately I still have to make a decision, which I probably shouldn't have had to do.
Thank you.
It's removed. The amendment is
So we're back on the motion. So I'm going to speak, and I agree with all the people who are voting against Councillor Duffy's motion. We are a thriving and vibrant community based in regional New South Wales. And that's because of all the different industries, cultures, backgrounds and ideas we have right here. During COVID, thousands of new residents realise what we've always known. This is one of the best places to live, work and play. Connectivity, property prices, education, schools and uni, health facilities, wine and food on our doorstep. Sporting and cultural facilities, fresh air, 4 seasons and just 4 hours from Sydney. New residents coming up here, setting up their homes, lives and families here means we have new businesses, new employment, new restaurants and new ideas. I welcomed 41 citizens on January 26th. They chose to become Australians and Orange as their new home. Everyone who lives here deserves to have the same opportunity to feel they belong and enjoy the tribe they have found within our city. Whether that be a sporting code or a club, a theatre, a music group, a business association or a church. With each tribe comes different ways of expressing their faith and sense of belonging and showing other community members the cultural beliefs, traditions and ceremonies they hold dear. The Orange Rainbow Festival is just one of those events, and no matter what your tribe that you belong to, it has a place here in our city. Just like the night in Nashville on the weekend, the recent Nublar Car Classic Festival, the weekend's running festival that's coming up, or the upcoming wine and food produce events of Food Week. I've heard from older residents who have suffered heartache and not feeling included as an LGBTQ plus community member. I've heard from parents of children who are struggling with identities in a world where male-dominated sports and mainstream music is now only beginning to lose its stronghold. Just look what the Matildas did for women's soccer last year. We can be part of the communities that are rallying behind giving voices to the minority tribes, and being active allies to the LGBTQ plus community is a great start. Hands up if you went to the night in Nashville on Saturday night. Don't like country music? You don't like country music? So it wasn't for you, but it was for thousands of other people who enjoyed hearing their favourite tunes wearing cloth that fitted in the country and western theme. I can remember not so long ago that country and western music would never have drawn a crowd here in Orange. If it's not your thing, it's simple. Don't go. But don't complain that it's happening and giving so many other people an enjoyable experience with their tribe. Orange hosts many cultural and recreation festivals and events that are supported by council. Harmony Day, Christmas carols, Seniors Festival, which includes an Indonesian cooking class, Women's Week, Food Week, Wine Week, the Running Festival. The Sydney and Gay and Lesbian Mardi Gras, the first one was in 1978. Now it's known as one of the largest global LGBTQ plus events. In 2017, safe-sex marriage plebiscite, 61.6% of Australia voted yes. In the Clare electorate, it was 60.2%. So tonight I'll be voting that we accept everyone in our inclusive community and we welcome everyone here to our beautiful regional centre, Orange. Thank you.
I move the motion be put, Mr Mayor.
Councillor Duffy, do you want to close
No, we're quite happy.
Happy to put the motion. I'll put the motion. All those in favour, put your hand up. With Councillor Duffy's motion.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I was going to say. I was going to quickly say it's the third wrong.
Business.
Councillor Peterson, Councillor Floyd, Councillor.
All those against? I declare the motion lost.
Are you sure?
Councillors, I'm going to call an adjournment for 5 minutes and then we'll get back on with the... Thanks, Councillor.
Moved by Councillor Floyd, seconded by Councillor Greenhalgh. Any discussion on this item? There being no discussion, put the motion. All in favour? Against? Carried. Item 2.2, we have a declaration of interest from Councillor Kinghorn, who's going to leave the chamber for basically the rest of this committee meeting. I didn't mean to highlight that, Councillor Kinghorn.
If that's the case, Mr. Chairman, I'm happy to move. I've read them, most of them, had discussed it with the director. I'm happy to move 2.3, 2.2 right through to 2.5.
Well, since this is a legal document, we better do one at a time to allow councillors to discuss, just in case there is some against, right? So we'll just do it one at a time. But thank you for your offer, Councillor Duffy. I appreciate it.
I see what you mean.
Item 2.2 is development application DA 23360 Stair Road. There is a recommendation on page 12, which is an approval of the application. Do I have a mover?
Mr. Chair.
Councillor McDonald. Oh, sorry, Mr. Director.
We'll also refer council to the second attachment, which is the amended approval
Yeah, sorry, there's an amendment. Yeah. We all got it?
list. Second one down. So.
Okay. Anyone? Councillor McDonald?
Yeah, I'm happy to move it, but I also have a question for the director.
Sure. Do I have a seconder? Seconded by Councillor Floyd. Had his hand up first. Question to the director through me, Councillor McDonald.
Sorry, yes, through you, Mr. Chair, to the director. Just a question. These two dwellings add up to substantial. Is there any indication that one or both are going to be used as accommodation, like a B&B type or, highfalutin kind of accommodation, or is it purely private use?
The application's just for residential accommodation, so private use. Appreciate the design is quite extensive, but that hasn't been applied for, so it's just a dwelling and a secondary dwelling or dual occupancy on that site.
Thank you.
I had noticed the same thing, so just for quickness, I'll jump in. Does that affect things like zoning, things like Airbnb, or not? It just happens, there's nothing we'll do about it.
If they're going to do the Airbnb, they'd have to comply with the state exempt policy or come back to us for a development application, the same as if it was going to be alternative accommodation use up there with that many bathrooms for each bedroom, but it's a matter for the applicant down the track. But what they've applied for is just the dwelling and secondary dwelling or dual occupancy.
Okay, any further discussion? We have a mover and a seconder to approve it. All right, all those in favour? Against, the motion's carried unanimously. Item 2.3 is 10 Autumn Street. Have a mover. It's been moved by Councillor Hamling, seconded by Councillor Greenhalgh. Any discussion, sorry? No discussion, I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Motion's carried unanimously. Turn over the page. Item 2.4 is a development application for the Orange Christian School, 500 Cecil Road. The recommendation is on page 215. It's been moved by Councillor Powell, seconded by Councillor Peterson. Any discussion? No discussion. I'll put the motion. All in favour? Against, the motion's carried.
Mr.
We'll
Chair.
now bring in...
Mr. Chair. Was whether council determines whether or not to make a submission to the Western Region.
Of course. Do we want to put a submission for or against? Because this is going to the
Mr. Chair,
planning committee.
I'd like to. We unanimously approved it. That's one thing we did do.
Yeah, I just have one question, if that's okay.
About that issue?
Yes.
Fire away.
The question with regard, it may be in the documentation, but I can't see it. I know this council, are making a submission, whether to make a submission for the application, but one of the things which was raised previously and a concern to councillors and the community is the issue regarding traffic around there, just around that area. I'm just wondering whether that has been addressed by council staff and whether that will be included in the documentation which is sent to the Western Region Planning Panel.
Mr. Theakstone will answer that, please, Mr. Chair.
This is pretty good, Adam. Being over at EGM, we haven't got to wait for you.
Through you, Mr. Chair, yeah, that has been assessed. The DA will let's say, the Southern Feeder Road will be built by the time that DA is engaged and students there.
What about the bridge?
The bridge will remain one-lane bridge for the next year or so, but UGL has plans to actually replace that with a two-lane bridge.
Thank you very much.
Now I'm going to suggest, through the chair, that we as a council want to provide a letter of support on behalf of the school supporting this.
I'm happy to move that way.
You happy to move that way? Okay. We all good with that? Yep. All in favour? Against? Carried. Mr Hodges, you have your letter. We better get Councillor Councillor Kinghorn back inside. We're up to item 2.5.
We're on 2.4?
Yep. That was it, man.
2.5.
2.5? You're out for 2.5. Sorry, you're out for 2.5. My bad.
See you again.
All righty. We've got item 2.5, which is the Shirley DCP amendment, which is going to go on okay, there you go, recommendation, page 262.
I'll move that.
Been moved by Councillor Hamling, seconded by Councillor Mallard. Any discussion? No discussion. Is it boring? What's going on? I'll put the motion. Against, carried.
Lots of scotch.
Thank you, councillors. I'll close the meeting at, it's about 9:45. Oh, that's right. We're
Up to do finance, please.
right. We've changed the.
So who's declaring in finance?
Wasn't Councillor Duffy declaring in finance?
One of the items? No, just for one of the items.
We do them in seriatim then.
Do that one.
So we're doing them into.
That whole item, it's a 2 point, which one is it? 2 point. So I haven't got the page open. Hey, councillors, I declare the Finance Policy Committee open at 9:47 and been only CUNY of interest I've declared on 2 point, I think it's 2.3, is it 2.2? Any other declarations? Councillor Floyd
2.2, number 7.
2.2 as well, is it?
Yep.
So
Councillor Peterson.
Yeah, that was number 3 of, and I'll just roll it out when it comes up.
2.2.
2.1, number 3, the Wangarang Golf Day.
we've got a recommendation, council. We'll move on to 2.1, which is
Councillor Peterson's.
got a
Are we doing them in seriatim? Right?
you want to move it in seriatim?
Yes, please. Yeah.
So item 2.1, which is item 1, which is sponsored the low roller disco for the $2,000. Have a mover.
Yep, happy to
Moved
move.
by Councillor Mallard. Any seconder? Seconded by Councillor Miletto. Any discussion? No discussion. I'll put that recommendation. All those in favour say aye or raise your hand. Number 2, the sponsor.
I vote no. Sorry, mate.
Is that the one he wants?
Yeah, I was voting no for number 1.
Voting no for number 1.
Voted no, yep, okay, sorry. Number 2, item number 2, sponsorship for food for the amount of $10,000 for 2024 Food Week event to be held on the 5th of April to the 14th of April.
I'll move that.
Moved by Councillor Power. Seconded?
Oh,
Moved.
moved by him. I'm second.
Speak up. So, yeah.
Move.
Can I just ask a question?
Yeah, I'm seconded.
Councillor Power.
Yeah. Councillor Kinghorn.
Thank you. I'm just a little bit confused about the balance available says $4,067 and these add up to more than that. How can we be doing this? Are we putting into taking it out of next year? How does that work?
Thank you, Councillor Kinghorn, and just through you, Mr Chair, that is correct. There's only $4,000 left in this financial year to allocate for event sponsorship, so we'd have to either try and find additional money if we were going to approve above that amount. because these 3 events are being held within this financial year.
Any further questions? Any further comments?
I think, Mr. Chair, we know how many people this event brings to the city and how popular it is. We've got some items in Food Week that sell out in 5 minutes flat. Some of the events, we have a lot of people come up. It does a lot of, it has a lot of economic stimulus to our city. So I think it's a fantastic event.
Any further discussion? Put that recommendation. All those in favour, raise your hand. Unanimous. I can't see all the way down. So that we move on to item number 3.
Happy to move it.
This is a good time for me to go, and I'll actually leave the meeting and follow on Teams as my my ride is here.
I'm happy to make dispensation for that.
So you
Move
might-
it. Councillor Miletto. We have a seconder.
Yep.
Councillor Whitten. All those, any discussion? No discussion. All those in favour say aye. I'll raise your hand. Carried, unanimous. We move on now to item 2.2. Would someone like to move that we deals with seriatim, but we leave 5 and 7 till last?
Yep, sure, I'll move that.
Moved by Councillor Mallard, seconded by Councillor Lloyd. And we'll move on to item number 1, a donation of $2,500 to the Lions Club. We have a mover and have a second. Moved by Councillor Miletto, seconded by Councillor Greenhalgh. Any discussion? No discussion. I'll put that recommendation. All those in favour, raise your hand. Unanimous. Number 2, donate $2,500 to the Orange Photography Club to host the Western Districts Association Camera Club's Interclub Challenge. We have a mover and a seconder. Moved by Councillor Lloyd, seconded by Councillor Evans. Any discussion? No discussion. I'll put that recommendation. All those in favour, raise your hand. Unanimous. Item number 3, $1,500 to the Regional Development Australia Central West for the 10 for 10 program. It's been moved by Councillor McDonald, seconded by Councillor Greenhalgh. Any discussion? No discussion. Put those recommendations. All those in favour, raise your hand. Unanimous. Item number 4, donate $300 to CWA New South Wales Group to help cover costs of. Moved by Councillor Hamling. Seconded by Councillor McDonald. Any discussion? No discussion. I'll put that recommendation. All those in favour, raise your hand. Unanimous. Move on to item number 6. Donate $2,500 to the Orange.
See ya.
Happy to move.
Oh, that's 5.
Happy to move number 6.
Number 6 we're on to.
The Orange Male Voice Choir. Happy to move that.
You've moved that, Councillor McDonald. Been moved and seconded. We have a seconder. And a green. The green help.
Infrastructure enclosed. Yeah. Okay.
Yes, all those. Any discussion?
Okay.
No discussion.
Yeah, can you hear me, guys? Maybe not.
Yeah, mate.
Oh, okay. If I can be heard, yeah. Look, I was actually just going to be a voice in the wilderness voting no. Just irks me that volunteer sporting clubs like Sims and community clubs like Vinnie's and groups like Historical Society and stuff like that, they just volunteer their time without the need to be paid, and I just find it hard that performing arts groups just need that money for the community services that others don't ask for. So yeah, sorry, I'll vote against.
Okay, Councillor, we have a mover and a seconder. All those in favour? I assume you're supporting that,
No, it's
Councillor?
not.
And I call that unanimous.
So you're voting against it?
I'm voting against.
Yeah, I'll
You're
vote
voting
against.
it? That's 2 against it.
Yes, please. I'm sure it'll be great.
Okay, we move on to item number 5, which I've declared an interest in, and item number 7, which Councillor Floyd. I'll hand over to the Mayor to finish that meeting because that's the end of it.
And then, councillors, we would like to go to infrastructure and then closed, please. Essential items.
Councillors, let it be shown that Councillor Duffy has left the room and Councillor
I'll be leaving next.
you'll be leaving next. Okay, number
Moved.
5. Councillor Whitten, second by Councillor McDonald. All those in favour? Against? Carried. So Councillor Duffy can come back in.
Are you for that, Councillor Pearson, or against that? Sorry.
I was sorry. I'll shout out, but yep, in favour. Thank you.
Or against.
Sorry to be joining on.
Yep, all good.
You can do it without him. Don't have to have him.
Councillors, number 6, donate 3,500 to Mr. Pitch Perfect.
Number 7, but I'm happy to move
Number 7. Thank you, Councillor Miletto.
Question.
Councillor Miletto.
I'm happy to move number 7. The question I have is, does the 3,500, is that outside the amount permissible?
Yes. 143.
Rachel, it is correct.
145.
Director.
I'd just like a comment
thank
from the
you.
director with regards to that.
Yes, thank you. Through you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, the maximum amount is $2,500, so the request for $3,500 is above the maximum amount.
I'll move an amendment to it then. I won't move it. I'll move an amendment.
I'll move it, Mr. Mayor.
Move it. I'll second it. And your amendment?
My amendment is that Orange City Council donate 2,500 to
I'll
Mr.
second that.
Perfect Incorporation, which is consistent with our last donation.
Any debate?
McDonald on the amendment.
Councillor Mallard.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, happy to support the amendment and support providing the money. And I just wanted to comment briefly. I know we've talked about when we've approved this funding before. We've talked about the importance of getting men out, talking and having conversations, and isolation among men is definitely important. So I think it's worthy of support, and I know I've heard from people who attend these pretty regularly that they find them very, very useful. I did want to comment at the same time, though, that I think we need to sort of keep an eye on the fact that men's spaces aren't universally healthy, and men talking to men isn't universally healthy, that if it's reinforcing rigid gender stereotypes, then it's reinforcing the kind of things that can lead to domestic violence. If it's involving homophobia or transphobia, then it's playing a role as well. So we talk a lot about mental health in this chamber. We talked about it a bit earlier this evening as well. I think this is a good initiative. I think the hosts have great intentions with it. I do hope to see Mr. Donato at the Rainbow Festival and coming out and supporting it and help building it up in the next couple of weeks, as well as another critical mental health initiative, as we've talked about at this meeting. Thanks.
Councillors? I'll speak against the amendment. I'd like to give the full amount. I think anything that we can give to help with getting people together, having a bit of a yarn, having a sausage sandwich, I can't see us why we can't give them $3,500 personally. So I'll be speaking against the amendment. Okay, any other speakers? No?
Sorry, just a question for the director.
Yep.
Any idea why the increase request? Nothing in the paperwork in terms of why they need an extra $1,000 from last time.
No, we didn't get any other supporting information for the increase to $3,500.
Councillor Duffy?
Yeah, I'm happy to support the full amount to go to the thing there. I do know a lot of gentlemen go up there and do support the thing. I know that actually Councillor Floyd puts a lot of his own time and his own money into the actual project, and people just turn up. So I think it's a great cause.
Okay, councillors. Councillor Greenhalgh?
Yeah, I too am happy to support the full amount. I think with the increased cost of everything, they're seeing increased costs as well, and I too get a lot of feedback in the community that this is a very beneficial program, so I'm happy to support the full amount.
Okay, councillors, I'll put the amendment first. All those in favour?
I'd like to vote for the amendment, please.
Against? The amendment's lost. I'll put the motion. All those in favour?
Yes, please.
Can we have our hands up, please, guys? Are you against, Councillor Peterson? For?
Oh no, I'm for. I'm
For?
for. Sorry, dark at the top.
Okay, I'll close the Finance Committee meeting at 3 to 10, and I'll call on. I'm calling on Jack Evans to do the infrastructure. Councillor Evans, sorry. Jesus.
You called him Jacobin. Jeez, I love it.
These young brothers, no, these young fellas.
No, we need
Quick stick.
9 minutes. Otherwise, we'll do another half hour.
Councillors.
Get a new butcher.
Mr. Stick. Councillors, I open the Infrastructure Policy Committee meeting for 5th of March at the time being 10 o'clock. Item 1.1, declarations, we have none. We'll move to item 2.1, minutes of the Traffic Committee. Can I have someone move the minutes? Thank you, Councillor Henling. Councillor Whitten to second. Any discussion on the Traffic Committee meetings? No, I'll put the motion. All in favour? Unanimous, thank you.
Just a
Move on.
matter arising, Mr. Chair.
Councillor
Sorry,
McDonald.
I'm not listed in the minutes, even though I'm the alternate. I was actually there.
We'll amend that, sir.
Thanking you. Item 3.1 on page 50, current works. Can I have someone move the current works, please? Councillor Whitten to second, thank you. Any discussion on current works? There being none, I'll put the motion. All in favour? Unanimous, thank you. I'll hand back to the Mayor for the meeting. Close the meeting at 10 o'clock.
Could I have a motion that we defer all other matters before we go into close? Thanks, Councillor Floyd, seconded by Councillor Powell. All those in favour? Against?
Nice.
I have a motion that we go into
Closed. Thank you. Seconded by Councillor Powell.
Let's move to close, please, staff.
Hang on. I've got to do a little bit of preamble first.
Is Kate gone?
The Chief Executive Officer will now advise of Council if any written submissions have been received relating to any item advertised by consideration by a closed meeting of Orange City Council.
There are none.
In accordance with the Local Government Act 1993 and the Local Government General Regulation 2021, in the opinion of the Chief Executive Officer, the following business is of kind as referred in Section 10A2 of the Act and should be dealt with in a confidential session of the Council meeting closed to the press and public. 6.1 2024 National General Assembly nominations for Council attendant is classified confidential under provision of Section 10A2F, matters affecting the security of the Council, councillors, Council staff or Council property. 6.2 Tender construction of the Orange Adventure Playground is classified confidential under provision 10A2/C. Information that would be disclosed confer a commercial advantage on a person on who Council is conducting or proposes to conduct business. 6.3 Submission reduction report 5th of March 2024. If classified confidential under the provision of Section 10A2E. Information that would be, if disclosed, prejudice the maintenance of law. Can we have someone go?
Please don't.
Happy to move that.
6.1. Oh, I've got to wait.